Pony Boy Garfunkel. Yes, you were here first. 1,000 Pine points to you. You're a step closer to winning that all-inclusive, all paid for. Get my phone out of my pocket. It's all paid expense, fully paid expense, no expense to you, the home viewer. Trip to Circus, one of the most luxurious resorts in all of Las Vegas, Nevada. With me, your host. 2 beds. Welcome if you're new here. Hey, Reed, you're here. Yeah, so this is what you did a couple weeks ago, right? So we're going to watch it. I could have gone to this, right, Reed? This is what you invited me to. But I had work, plus I don't like traveling that much. But I have a feeling I'm going to watch this and go, I should have been there. But we'll see. Destiny, now isn't that fellow who, don't fill in the blank. Don't fill in the blank. Those Pine points will get me coitus, says Pony Boy. No, I highly doubt that. I highly doubt that.
Trump hasn't fixed the border in his first month in office or done anything about it at all?
No one can fix
What? Has done nothing about it at all?
the border in a month.
He hasn't touched it.
No, he hasn't
I
touched
thought it was the most important thing.
How many executive orders has he put into place?
How many of them deal with the border?
If you happen to be born here, why not also be a US citizen? The more that you have, the better the place will be. The more people, the better. The more problem solvers there are, the more creativity.
Okay, I got to introduce what the title means. Destiny is a guy who's on YouTube with a bunch of companies, a bunch of other people. Spectrum Street Epistemology is my buddy and pal Reed came up with. He's in the live stream chat right now under Reed Nice Wonder with the popcorn. And so he came up with this idea of having mats. You make a claim and then you shift whether you strongly agree, slightly agree, neutral, or disagree. And then the on-screen talent here, Peter Boghossian, he's just the eye candy. Reads the brains behind the situation, the whole organization. Peter is just the eye candy. And he'll ask them, well, why did you go to strongly disagree or strongly agree? And then can you guess why, the reasons why that person went? And so it's a way to have a very civil conversation and dialogue about what you believe and why. And yeah, let's continue.
Let's have at it.
Oh, well, that changes things. That was an incredible
Very
performance. Wow, that was pretty incredible. The United States should increase legal immigration. Move.
Legal. Slightly agree. For me.
Okay, decide from amongst yourselves who you want to come up. Decide from amongst yourselves who you want to come up. Why don't you come up first?
Okay.
And then,
I guess if you go to this thing and you don't want to participate, just sit on neutral the whole time. Yeah, you'll be very boring.
we'll substitute you in later. Okay, you have 3 minutes. Have a conversation with him. Each of you give each other your best arguments.
Okay, I guess from an economic perspective, our unemployment is very low. It seems like one of the biggest frustrations this administration is currently expressing is that all of Mexico is stealing our ability to manufacture things. So I don't know why we would kick out all of the workers back to Mexico to go steal our manufacturing abilities. I don't know why we wouldn't just welcome more people into the United States and do stuff here.
Okay, I guess my answer to that would be I don't think we have a shortage of foreign-born Americans in this country already, and I don't think we have a shortage of Americans that are looking for work in these different fields, especially like in tech and like what we use the HB1 visas for.
Fun fact, 10% of people under the age of 25, 16 to 25 are unemployed, 10%. So when Destiny says unemployment's low, that's true overall, but the young people need to get off their iPads and stuff or phones and start working in the fields. And then the mental illness will go down too.
It's time to, I'm an immigrant myself, I'm first generation, and I'm all for people coming and bringing something and adding something to the country, but I feel like we're on this point where a lot of people are coming just to get everything that they can out of the country, without contributing much to it. So I'd say it's time to focus on the people already here.
I don't want to say this, but I'm going to say it anyhow. I'm a naturalist, so I view humans as animals. We're very intelligent animals, but unlike other mammals, when you get free food, you tend to go, "Oh, I want that free food," and then you go for it. And if you do it often enough, we as animals will just keep wanting to go to places that give us free things. And the United States has been a magnet for that.
I totally and completely disagree with every factual part of that. I think that nobody comes to the United States for our wealth.
He disagrees with the facts?
For a state here, it just doesn't really exist. Even the illegal immigrants that we have here are working. I mean, like
Illegally?
every economic indicator, whether you want to look at the U3 or the U6 or labor force participation, shows that we are super hungry for workers here. I think if you go down literally any street.
Yeah, if I was there, C. Reed, if I was there, 10% unemployment for people under 16 to 25. And then Destiny goes, "What? Is that true? Where's my smartphone?"
You'll see every restaurant, you'll see every construction site, you'll see tech in San Francisco begging for workers. The idea that the United States can't employ people that are coming here just is a total myth. I understand that there are parts of Europe that have this issue, but for some reason we like to pretend it's the same. But I think in the United States, we can utilize a ton of extra labor here. And I don't see any reason why we can't take care of the people that we have here, especially when one of our big problems is shoring up our...
I actually agree with Destiny. We need a ton of labor, but I would take that literally. So 2,000 pounds worth of immigration, and then we seal the border.
Our Medicare, while bringing in other younger people to work and help alleviate those issues.
Okay, what was the point you said before that? Sorry, that was a lot.
I think that we're so hungry for labor in the U.S.
Oh, okay, sure.
By the way, Reed, this is a beautiful, what is this, a warehouse? This doesn't look like it's a hotel conference room. Where are you?
So I don't think that I'm not saying it's a myth that we can't employ foreign-born workers. I'm saying that a lot of the reasons, like this debate with HB1, what they're doing is that they're hiring people at much cheaper rates than they would hire Americans for. And I understand there's economic incentive for that. But I'm not saying that we can't, like it's a myth that we can't hire these people. I'm saying it would be better if we would hire our own and then pay them a living wage.
Yeah, what this guy should say here is... make that statement, it's better if we hire our own, and then say, do you agree? If we have a position open for an American and an immigrant, and they both are qualified, who would you choose between the two? Get Destiny to say America first in that situation.
And that, but we already are. I mean, like, you can check out the Bureau of Labor Statistics. If you look at, like, computer science people, the unemployment between these people is like 1.9%. It is unbelievably low. It's one of the lowest unemployment sectors in the entire economy. I think we are super hungry for H-1B workers, especially, like, educated workers. I don't know why you would push talent out of the United States.
Yeah, I agree with Destiny here.
Instead of welcoming them here, because if they're going to, work anywhere, why would we not have them work in the United States?
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. If it's like actual talent, for sure. I just feel like that is used by corporations and employers in semi-insidious ways that end up screwing the population that's already here.
Okay, did anybody hear anything that caused them to move? Nope. Okay, so I'm going to swap you two out, and we're going to swap you two out. You have 2 minutes.
This country was built on immigrants. The original people that came to this country are the Native Americans, and everybody else is an immigrant. And we all contribute to the country. We all contribute taxes. The key word here is legal.
That other guy, he's wearing a tie. He's better than Zelensky.
Immigrants. That's the key word in that whole question. Legal immigrants, we pay taxes. We pay Social Security. We contribute to the economy of the country.
I think what you're saying is counter to what you're saying. You absolutely agree we should allow illegal immigration.
Legal
immigration. Oh, of course we should.
Do you want to change your mat?
I'm sorry, I thought you said.
No, the U.S. should increase legal immigration. You're welcome to. Are you now on his side of the? The U.S. should increase legal immigration.
I'm sorry, I misunderstood.
Oh, well, that changes things.
Yeah, Peter only said it once, and it's very easy to mistake legal for illegal, like if you say it fast. So Peter should have said legal immigration. Legal immigration.
That was incredible
Very
performance.
persuasive.
Oh, don't take the credit for his.
Pretty
Don't take the credit for his old ears.
incredible. Okay, everybody go back to neutral. The U.S. needs more foreign workers. Move.
The U.S. needs more foreign workers. In some industries, yeah, so I go slightly agree again. Need more Indians.
Okay, grab the board over there, please. And sir, grab the
We
board.
need more Nigerians.
I want you to write down the best reason you have for standing on that mat. And don't let anybody see. What is your best reason you have for standing?
Oh, Reed, if you're still here, which I'm sure you are, can you post this, my link to the SC server Discord somewhere? And let's get some people who don't like Spectrum Street epistemology in here later.
On that mat. I want you to guess what is the reason he has written on the board.
Ah, this is good.
I believe he has
You guys catch that? So the question was, claim we need more foreign-born people working in the United States. And then you go to your mat, and then you got to guess the reasons of the other person. So it forces you to think in somebody else's shoes. Try to predict what they're going to say before they say it. It's a very great mental exercise.
statistics as to why we need more people from out of the country and that we don't have enough people here to suffice the needs of the United States.
In one sentence, what is it?
Statistics showing an argument versus what I'm saying, period.
Is that correct? Statistics showing an argument?
Basically.
Okay, you
Low
got it.
unemployment, yeah.
You guessed it. Okay. Now, why is he standing on the absolutely disagree?
I'm going to guess it has something to do with a cultural aspect of Americans and not bringing in too much foreign culture.
Is that correct? Don't show him yes or no.
No, way off.
Okay. Guess again.
Then domestic labor needs more opportunity to work here. We should be manufacturing things with American workers.
Is that correct?
Well, we have enough people here.
We have enough people here. Okay, I'll grab this. Explain to him your reason.
Well, are we lacking people in the United States, that we don't have enough people to just suffice our needs and solve our own issues?
Yeah.
Okay, so now I would try to predict his response to my reason, and it would be our fertility rate is below 2.2. So if we're not making babies, we got to bring in people who can help with the workforce and also potentially produce babies. We'll see if he goes there. I've watched 10 to 20% of this, but I have not watched this part.
Right, we do.
We're lacking
No, what are we lacking?
more people. Labor is one of your most important economic inputs. Why not have more workers?
But we have enough workers.
Thanks,
We
Why
have
not
enough
for
people.
what?
We have a population of how many people? You would know this.
Well, like 336 million people or something?
Okay, so is 336 million people not enough to suffice our problems?
Well, you can always have more, no?
Why would you have more if you have enough?
How much money do you have in your bank account? Would you want more?
What I have in my bank account has nothing to do with the real.
Ooh, that he made money and humans equivalent there as an analogy. Wouldn't you want more money? So I guess Destiny number one's not against billionaires. But what Destiny's forgetting here, or at least what I would say to Destiny at this point is, do you think all humans are equal in their ability to be contributors to society? And then Destiny, of course, has to say no. So then the question becomes, if we bring in more people who are burdens to society than blessings, then for sure we should not let more people in.
Reality that we have enough people in the United States to suffice our needs.
How do you define enough?
Look around.
Okay, I looked around. There's not
Oh,
enough.
that's a horrible argument. Look around. Yeah, get on a jet airplane and fly over the Dakotas. It's nothing but barren land. Yeah, we could put people on that land.
Enough.
Okay, how do you determine there's not enough?
Unemployment is below 5%
Okay, so why is unemployment below 5%?
because you don't have enough people in our workforce to employ.
No, those are statistics that we don't know truly what. And we obviously have enough people.
How do we
Now-
obviously have enough if we can't trust the statistics?
Well, listen, statistics have a
Oh,
very
this guy's
narrow
failing
view of
bad.
something that's far more deeper than that. If we have enough people that are, if we remove the illegals, first of all, if we get rid of people that are here against the law, which our country has created laws for reasons, we will finally know the actual answer to this, because then we have to fill those jobs, won't we?
Yeah, and then our unemployment would be even worse. It would go even lower.
We don't have a crystal ball. We'll have to find out now.
Well,
that
I imagine
Trump is
if you
doing the right thing.
remove people and you fill more people into jobs, and the unemployment would go even lower, right? We would get to like 1% or less or something, right?
Well, exactly what would happen once we get rid of the illegals.
So how in your mind do you decide if there are enough people here or not?
Well,
Good
we'll
question.
find out once we do the right thing. First of all, go against anything that's illegal, right? We have laws in place for a reason.
That would mean removing Trump from office, so let's not get too far ahead of ourselves.
How is Trump illegal in the office?
I'm just
Okay,
curious,
we'll
how do
keep
we
it to
decide?
this.
How do we decide? The problem I have with this is
That was a great question Destiny asked. How do we, what marker do we use to determine we have enough people in society? Thanks for the donation, Chivry, £11.99. Thank you. Destiny says nobody comes to the U.S. for the social safety net. Nobody. Insane. I agree. That is insane. We're learning now after the fact, especially with exploring U.S. aid, that a lot of money, taxpayer money, was used to fund NGOs, non-government organizations, and some of those non-government organizations go into foreign countries and say, hey, now's the time to go to the United States and we can help you get there to the southern border.
that we have a lot of numbers.
And then when they do cross, now we're learning. I remember having so many conversations with people who, they're not taking social assistance. And then I would just ask simple questions like, okay, if they're not working illegally, who pays for their food? How do they eat? Well, they brought money with them. You sure about that? But we're learning that they did indeed stay in hotels in New York. They did indeed get these little debit cards with a certain amount of money placed on it. It wasn't unlimited, of course. We do know that in places like Denver, Colorado, they would get paid food and get provided shelter, all at the taxpayer's expense.
Information about the health of the economy. It seems like having more workers is generally good as long as unemployment isn't too high or wages aren't being pushed too low. And it seems like every sector is really hungry for extra labor. You've got tech asking for H-1B workers. You've got agriculture that are worried that illegals are going to be kicked out of the country. They won't have a workforce. There are so many sectors that are hungry for workers.
Right.
Why?
Okay, if I were there now, I would say something like this. I would say, I don't totally disagree with you, Destiny. But you said unemployment's 4.1%, which is, I think, right. Let's try to get the unemployment down to 1%. So we got 3%, wiggle room. And let's say we put these job openings out there, nobody takes them. Then what do, Destiny? You keep raising the price for that employment until people say, oh, I can get paid that? Oh, and all I need is certification here or a degree there. Okay, now I'm going to plan for my future, get a 4-year degree, because now, the wages in this field is amazing. That's how you use market forces to increase the price of labor, to get the middle class making more money.
Would we?
Isn't it a mystery that we've had statistics for how long in this country, yet nothing's gone right?
I think a lot of things have gone right. I think we're in a wonderful country right now. I think we got how many immigrated people here?
We have Trump in the office. That's great, right?
No.
If you're in a situation like this, you have to, as much as possible, avoid words like never, only, all, because a guy like Destiny is just going to destroy you.
We're not perfect, but
Well, we're solving a problem. Let's keep it simple.
Okay.
We have illegals in the country. Let's get rid of the illegals and then see what actually transpires.
wouldn't the easiest way to get rid of every illegal in this country be to create a path to citizenship for the people here?
But
or at
there
least
are paths to citizenship.
a real.
Isn't the easiest way to let them come into our country illegally and then reward them for this illegal activity by giving them a path to citizenship? That's what Destiny's basically saying. I would have rephrased what he said right back at him, and then he would hear just how silly that sounds.
They don't have a 25-year wait list.
25-year wait list. I don't know anyone that's waited 25 years to get legally here in the United States.
Okay, sorry I'm stopping. But I got so much to say on immigration. Even if it is a 25-year wait list, that's not America's problem. That's the immigrants' problem. I've had many conversations with people like this, just saying, well, we got to make it more efficient and so forth. And I agree with making it more efficient. But at the end of the day, and again, this is assuming that you can raise prices for employment, and then Americans will take those jobs. That no matter how, it's a privilege to live in this country. It's not a right for any foreign-born person to live in this country. So if they have to wait 25 years, so be it. But it's not 25 years.
Anybody from Mexico that doesn't win an immigration lottery or doesn't have a family member here, it's like a 20-year plus wait list.
No, listen, whatever it takes to become legal, there are laws in place for a reason. If you want to change the laws, you're welcome to do so.
Okay, I'll meet you halfway then. I would agree that we should substantially reduce the amount of illegals here if we made it substantially easier and cut dramatically the wait time to legally immigrate into this country.
Well, why make that concession?
Trump's all about eliminating bureaucracy and wait times.
Sure. Would you agree with that then? With dramatically increasing the amount of legal immigration?
I'm not educated enough to know what the solution would be.
Well, I didn't ask. I'm just curious, just on a vibes basis.
Then we'll end this. All right, hold on. Then we'll end.
Yeah. So let's say right now we could snap our fingers and it would work in a way that wouldn't be catastrophic. Would you be okay with dramatically increasing the amount of legal immigration coming to this country, assuming they were coming for jobs, they weren't coming for welfare, they weren't criminals or rapists or any of that stuff? Would you be in favor of that?
No.
Whoa.
Okay.
I want to know why. I would, if Destiny were to ask me that question, I'd say yes, if we're bringing in the best, the brightest, the smartest, even ones who have lots of money to make our country better. Yeah, sure. It's in a way, it's a bit dangerous, though, my philosophy on this, because if America were to do what I'm suggesting, that we bring only the best Nigerians, only the best Indians, only the best Venezuelans, only the best, what will end up happening is there might become jealousy by Native Americans with these new immigrants coming in legally, who then get a pathway to citizenship, green card, and then citizenship. But they're so smart, so successful, so hardworking that it makes Americans from previous generations look bad. And then that might cause some bitterness and jealousy. That's the problem with my idea. But I still think they just need to suck it up and use it as a way to become better themselves. But yeah, I think the goal should be that the immigrants be so good that they make Americans look bad. And then like, hey, I'm an American, I just got my citizenship, and I'm making you look bad, and you're like a fourth generation. Like, pull your own weight. Be better. Thanks for the donation, Mike Alvaradois, TBE. Doug, how to get a Destiny debate? I know Menor reports the guy that called in your show before really wants to get that Destiny debate. You mean with me and him? I'm sure Reed could set that up. But yeah. I guess maybe have to force myself to like traveling, and I don't like it. I don't know how Reed does it. He goes all over the world, and you got like jet lag, and you got like airport garbage, and you get just like, and then you got usually every time you go on a long trip, you come back home, and then you're at least not feeling well for a week. I hate that feeling. And so online's better, so it'd be easy for Destiny to hop on right now and we just talk.
All right. Did anybody move? Did you move? And you move. Where did you move from?
From slightly disagree.
Okay. What convinced you to move?
Because there are so many young people graduating from our universities that are not prepared to take the job opportunities that become available, because our university programs are just not preparing them for the subject matter.
Okay, this is interesting. She shifted to slightly disagree that we need more immigrants, but not for any of the reasons this guy talked about. Maybe she was just thinking it to herself the whole time, wasn't even listening.
And so we should educate our own people in the jobs that are becoming available.
So that's what caused you to move?
Yes.
Okay, who else moved? You two. Why did you move, sir?
For two reasons.
You're so good to me.
For two reasons, what my colleague was saying, I just want to make 2 points on that. It took me 14 years to become legal. It does take that long to become legal. And
Well, legal, no. I was legal from day one because I did all the paperwork while I lived in Canada. What does it mean? Does it mean become a citizen? Well, it took me 10 years to become a citizen, but I could have done it in 5 or 6. Once you have a green card for 5 years, you're eligible to become a citizen. So I don't know what this guy's problem was.
And also, if America takes the people that has that technological mind from other countries, it gives us the advantage than other countries.
True.
So let's bring them here.
Yes.
Let's bring all these educated people legally into America with all the education and the technical know-how. We get the advantage over
Yes.
other countries.
So that's what caused you to change your mind? What caused you to change your mind, sir?
What Destiny said about we don't have industries
Did Peter say sir?
such as agriculture need more people to be working in those industries. As we've seen with the mass deportation threats that have already been happening under the Trump administration, there's been a lot of concern from farmers, and because that business might literally be crippled without the use of migrant labor. We do need more foreign workers. We need more people to come into the U.S. because American citizens just aren't filling these jobs. You're not seeing people go out of high school and go into agriculture anymore. You're seeing them go more into college. You're seeing more people
Or vocational as well.
Exactly.
Okay.
So we need more foreign workers that could fill these jobs that are not being taken up.
All right.
So far, nobody's brought up my main point that unemployment for young people is 10%. Why isn't that 4%? Maybe we should halt on a lot of the low-skilled, at least, foreign immigration until our young people get to work. Especially the young people who hate university, they hate college, they hated school, but they're really good with their hands. And give them the jobs, the low-skilled jobs.
All right, everybody go back to the neutral, please. The best explanation for the increase in illegal immigration during the Biden administration is voter importation. Move.
Whoa. The best reason why illegal immigrants came in, why the Biden administration allowed that to happen, is to get more Democrat voters. That's the claim, if I'm understanding it correctly. How would I answer this? It's definitely agree, but the question is it strongly agree, or what's the strongly agree, somewhat agree. Is that the only reason? What do the categories read? Absolutely agree, strongly agree, agree. Oh, okay, those are the three. Absolutely agree. I would say strongly agree, not absolutely agree, because I think one of the reasons is pressure from businesses to get cheap slave labor. Slave in quotes. So I would say strongly agree, not absolutely.
Wait, as in like we agree with that?
Yeah, if you disagree, you're on that side. If you agree, you're over there.
Okay, I forgot what the sides were.
The main reason.
Okay.
Okay, he said the main reason. Ooh. So the claim is the main reason the Biden administration allowed so many, and a lot of people on the left would even disagree with the premise of the question. Like I've talked to so many people that say, this was out of Biden's hands. I mean, it was COVID. It was all the persecution in other countries. It's not Biden's fault that so many people just surged across the border. So they would totally reject this question, I think. But for those of us who don't reject it and can see with our bare eyes what happened, that the Biden administration did allow so many millions of people to cross at non-ports of entry The question is, what's the main reason? Is the main reason to get Democrat voters in the future? If that's the main reason, yeah, I think I would have to shift to absolutely agree. I think that has to be the main reason. Okay, we'll see.
Among yourselves, who would like to
The best explanation
go?
for the increase in illegal immigration is voter importation. Yeah, to get Democrat votes. Yeah, I'd say absolutely agree. Is the best explanation. Although there are other explanations, but I would say absolutely agree. Did anybody go for that?
Decide among yourselves. Why don't you come up? Perfect. All right, you have 3 minutes to have a conversation.
Illegal immigrants can't vote.
Oh no, they can't vote at the moment, but in the future they can.
That's it. How would an increase in illegal immigration mean that there are more people voting for Biden when illegal immigrants can't vote?
Well, the Biden administration actually created something called undocumented immigration, right? So they're throwing away their passports, everything they had to be undocumented. And guess what?
Some of them, that's a fact for at least some of them. And I hope there's left-wing people listening.
But they come to this country, all of a sudden, they're documented. They are allowed to vote, and in some states, you actually don't need it.
That's true for some state and local districts, but not at the federal level. So
Any ID to vote. So it seems kind of obvious to me.
You would still need to register, correct?
I don't know. I believe that you don't have to register. You don't even have to have a driver's license. You can go into the voter's office and say, I have no ID. Great. Come on in. Let's vote. Remember who brought you here?
So I think that's totally untrue. Just speaking for Florida, because that's where I worked with registering people to vote, we had to register them to vote beforehand. There's a lot of hostile laws in America, in Florida, exactly.
Oh, I would love to talk to this guy. If he actually worked there, I would ask some questions like, okay, did you actually double check their ID with some federal database? Did you actually do that? Because a lot of people on the left will just say, well, if they can't vote if they're not registered. Yeah, but they can register with a fake ID, somebody else's ID, and maybe even no ID. Oh, you forgot it? Okay, we won't double check.
That make it so if you registered before this amount of time, you're unable to vote. If you messed up registering, you're unable to vote. You are unable to vote unless you were already registered.
There's a way to test for that. And I've come up with this test a long time ago. Get 10,000 people, give them immunity, get 10,000 foreigners who are not citizens, give them immunity and say, we'll pay you, I don't know, X amount of dollars. And we want you to try to break the system. Try to vote and then follow their votes through the system and see what percentage of them get through. This would be so devastating if even the results came out that out of the 10,000 people we give immunity to, that 20, 30% of them get through. They're non-citizens and yet they still can vote federally by either using identity fraud, no identity, no driver's license, no whatever. Just blatantly lie on their forms, lie on their address, lie on even they find a dead name of someone who died years ago. My intuition say, and I can't defend this, I can't prove it to anybody, but my intuition says it would be about 20% would get through.
To be an illegal immigrant and vote illegally, and even when we've had instances of voter fraud being caught, they were so low that not only would they, it's almost like useless to mention because the amount of voter fraud was so low, but even the ones that did do it were caught.
Keyword in the great state of Florida. That's why we're here. How many states were there allowed?
Look at his posture. Yeah. Okay, so if I'm ever in this situation, I would try very hard not to look this way. It's sort of like a superior type posture. You want to be open to dialogue. Get your hands out of your torso.
Allowed to vote without registering, without any ID.
Not certain. Can you tell me?
That's why it's too hard to scam. That's why Trump won. But that was the whole point. I don't have any other reason. Can anyone give me a reason why Biden would decide to do this?
Well, can you tell me one other state that doesn't allow it, that allows voting?
Well, there's California, New York. I mean,
They're missing the main point. Even if they can't vote for 10 years, they're going to remember that the Biden administration let them in and helped them and gave them stuff, free stuff. So they're going to have that in their head, and they're going to feel this automatic, I need to pay you back with my vote.
I believe there's 7 other states. Remember, I'm uneducated in politics. I can't stand it because it's all just a farce. But I strongly believe that that was the only reason that Biden allowed all these illegal immigrants to come to this country.
I find it very hard to, I mean, we're both not experts on registering to vote across the nation, but I find it very hard to believe that you would not only not have to register, to show no ID. I mean, there's laws that are put in place across the nation making sure that even American citizens don't vote twice or 3 times. Are you saying that there's no voter protection or voter fraud protections in the United States at all?
Say no.
What I've seen in the news and media, YouTube, everything, absolutely. People were voting without any identification.
Okay.
That's not the question he asked. He says, are there safeguards? Are you saying there's absolutely no safeguards? He should be saying, no, I'm not saying that. Of course there's safeguards, but there's ways around them, and fraud still happens, and you admitted fraud still happens.
All right. Could you come up to the front, sir? And could you come up to the front, sir? You have 2 minutes.
So let's go back to the question. What was the reason for the increase in immigration during
Illegal
immigration during the Biden administration? It was the COVID pandemic.
Ooh. Okay. Oh, I would have loved to be there. I would have said something like, if it were the COVID pandemic, why did the illegal immigration numbers keep going up and up until 2024 when there was a public outcry, and then Biden put some stricter restrictions on, and then it started falling? Why? Weren't the vaccines out in 2021? Didn't Biden even declare COVID over in 2022? Yes, Biden declared the COVID pandemic over in 2022 to the chagrin of many people on the left. But yet immigration numbers still kept going up. Illegal immigration.
What happened, a lot of people in the South America and the Caribbean, which I know because I have family and friends there, got hit economically. They were really struggling. And because I had to send money to people in my country, literally.
Ooh, here's an immigrant admitting he's sending US dollars outside the country. Oh, I wouldn't admit that.
Because people were struggling and they needed some type of avenue. So they flooded the American market.
Why COVID? Could you explain to him why COVID?
Or because COVID caused the economy in most of the Caribbean and South American countries to go bad. So
same here in the US.
People didn't have work, they didn't have money, they didn't have jobs. So
same here in the US.
They run to, and unfortunately, and Biden made it a little easier for them to come, but that's the
oh, that's a huge concession. Biden made it a little easier for them to come. Oh. Maybe we just disagree on that word, how easy.
Reason they came.
I think Biden made it a lot easier for him to come. But I wanted to address one other thing.
Sure.
People were allowed, I was a provisional judge for the Board of Elections in the state of Maryland. You did not need an ID to vote. All you needed was a utility receipt with your name and address on it, and you were allowed to vote. And we were specifically instructed.
And then you just pretend that that's your name and address. All you need to do is find a utility bill and just claim that's you. What this guy is saying is true. It'd be so easy to commit federal voter fraud.
We were not allowed to turn away anybody if they wanted to vote.
Instructed by who instructed you?
The Board of Elections. We were not allowed to turn anybody away.
Okay, so I'm in California, and of course, I'm now in Florida. You had to have an ID to vote in those 2 states. So I don't know for your state, so I cannot
Is that true in California?
debate your state, but I know for California and now for Florida that I'm in, you have to have an ID to vote.
Okay, so basically what I meant to say also is that we couldn't turn them away to vote. If they did vote, it didn't necessarily mean their vote was going to be counted. Okay, but we were not allowed to turn anybody away if they want.
All these people are still missing one major point. They're still focusing on, well, they can't vote, they can't vote, they can't vote. But if the Biden administration is thinking, well, even if they can't vote for 5-10 years, eventually the Democrats are going to get those people, because we are the ones who showed the compassion, showed the mercy, who showed the love. We cared about the little guy. The Republicans just care about billionaires and millionaires. But we, the Democrat Party, we care about you, Mr. Trinidad man. We care about you, Mr. Brazil man, woman, child. And you won't forget that, will you? So in a decade in the future, you'll vote for us, won't you?
To vote. The Board of Elections basically went through all of the people who were not registered, who didn't have ID, and at that point, they verified whether or not they were actual citizens or not.
Yeah, but what you're saying, you're implicating that Biden had a big plan. Let's have all those immigrants come here to vote.
Isn't Biden a smart guy with all his cognitive faculties available to him? I actually don't think Biden was behind a lot of this. We're learning now that the signatures on all those executive orders Biden did, he might have not even been cognizant of what he was signing. And it was just, and he might not have even been in the room when it was signed, that it was signed digitally. If this is news to you, start using Grok, ChatGPT, and Google, and find people who are on both sides of this issue. It's very interesting.
That's not the reason they came. They came for money. They came for a job. That's the reason they come.
The illegal immigrants as well.
Yeah, well, yeah, the illegals as well. I can't say or I cannot debate if they went and vote, but I don't think it's some great plan to get, because at least the 2 states that I know about, California and Florida, you have to have an ID.
Okay, I'll give you the last word.
Yeah, this whole thing about, can you vote now? They're missing the future point of it. And the main point that this gentleman on the left was making was, the reason why there was such a huge influx of illegal immigration was because of COVID. And their economies were devastated. Well, so was the U.S. The U.S. actually went into recession for a quarter, well, negative GDP for a quarter. I remember unemployment went up to like 15-20%. Now, if this guy was being totally, I shouldn't say it that way, not honest, but that the United States does have a better social safety net. They're willing to give away free money easier than maybe Trinidad. And so when times are tough, you want to flee into a country that can give you free food.
Okay. I think that COVID was really, what Biden was taking advantage of, okay? And the fact that, okay, we did have a COVID problem. We had illegals come into this country. They didn't even have to take a COVID test.
Yeah, Title 42 made it so that you could not come across the border during COVID. So how does this, COVID was the reason why so many people came into this country, when we actually had an executive order saying you can't come across during COVID. I guess a lot of them still got through.
But I just think this whole thing was due to convenience. Here we had a pandemic. It was a convenient opportunity to have illegals come in based on either what you're saying or just the fact that they didn't have work to come to this country illegally.
Okay. All right. Did anybody change their mind? The claim again, the best explanation for the increase in illegal immigration during the Biden administration is all of you changed your mind? You all changed your mind?
I did. Yeah.
Bottom one sentence, why?
Well, I think the biggest reason is that there was an incentive to do so. I don't think the whole reason was for them to shift the election, but a thing that people need to remember is that illegals can have an influence on our election without ever voting because of redistricting and the census map, and then populations change, and then it can completely change elections that way too.
Okay, why did you change your mind?
Because, as this gentleman mentioned, in the state of Maryland, they weren't able to turn away any voters, which means potentially there were illegal immigrants voting. So it could have been a factor for why Biden wanted them to be there.
And the best explanation for that was voter importation.
Yes, I believe so.
Okay. Who else changed their mind? Oh, wow, you changed your mind too. God, everybody changed their mind.
I was there, and I changed my mind because I feel that it really was the main reason. I don't think it was
the
only reason, but it was the main reason.
That's what I was stuck on before they even started talking. But yeah, I think it was the main reason.
If you remember, Obama was the one that wanted to build the wall high, and if all these illegal immigrants who came in would come in and be registered Republicans, you would see the Democrats saying, we got to tear this wall down immediately.
Yeah, I'm glad he brought up Obama, because I lean far right. I'm a Republican. But I tell you, I would take Obama or Clinton 1,000 times sooner than the Biden administration when it comes to immigration. 1,000 times sooner. They were way more reasonable in immigration than the Biden administration. I think the Biden administration was infected with what I'll call the woke mind virus. That he actually wasn't even running the show, and the people in the background, people advising him, who were very progressive, very woke, just bleeding heart types. We got to bring in poorer people. We got to bring in financially dependent people. We need to flood this country with dependent people, so in the future, we can get them as a voting bloc, and it will be maybe even a century before the Republicans win again. So it was maybe not even so much to get votes, either now or in the future, but we just feel so sorry for them. There's people, and United States has screwed up so many countries, Doug. You know that. So we deserve to let poor people in and be punished fiscally for the mistakes we made in the past. We need to take a whip out and whip ourselves and pay for the sins of our past by letting all these poor people in who will be financially dependent on us. We owe it to them. It's reparations, Doug. Reparations. Maybe that's it. Maybe it's more reparations than voters.
Okay, you changed your mind as well. Why? What, in one sentence, two sentences, why?
Because here in South Florida, you can buy a Social Security card and driver's license. There's a black market. So all the Democrats are bringing them in, and they're taking them to the black market. Here, buy your Social Security card, buy your driver's. Now you're voting.
All right.
It's easy to vote.
You changed your mind as well.
Yes, because I actually experienced on vacation in California, there was a
One sentence.
Okay, there was a representative at this big convention, Mexican convention of migrant workers and everything, and their purpose was to register all of these people to vote. And I said, if they're illegal, they can't register to vote.
Okay.
That's not the, they
Okay. Did you just change your mind too? No, you were there. You were there. Okay. Could you come forward, please? So I'm looking at you two, and then like, what do you have to say? All those people shifted.
I still think that if you believe that the best explanation for immigration is that administration wants more people to vote for them, I think that's just totally untrue. First off, I don't think that illegal immigrants voting played any major role in the election. And while I do think it's an interesting point, David, that it could affect redistricting, I don't think that it would affect that to any amount that would actually change the amount of the election, or that Democrats.
Oh my, this kid. Oh, that's false. The redistricting argument is a very powerful one. Like if you double the size of a small town that was Republican, and now you got people who, let's say at the state level, start voting or supporting the left, you can totally flip state counties from red to blue.
We're thinking, okay, well, let's let more illegal immigrants in.
See, but I think the reason why this backfired on the Democrats is because so many immigrants who did it the legal way started despising what the Biden administration did. From people from their own country. So let's say you're from Trinidad and you came in the legal way and did all the time, effort, work, and money. And then you see who used to be your neighbor from years ago get in like that. You're going, wait a minute, this is not fair. So a lot of minorities, in quotes, Hispanics, Africans, and so forth, they start going, wait a minute. What's the Biden administration doing here? This is not fair.
And so that we can redistrict.
All right, now let's swap you two out. So we have significant movement when I was not looking. What do you think caused people to move to skew it so heavily to that side?
Fake news.
Really?
There's a super easy question that nobody will be able to answer. How is it possible that Biden imported millions of illegal voters to vote for him, and somehow Harris got less votes than Biden?
A lot of people want to.
Because actually, the answer to that question is what I just said. Because they underestimated the amount of pushback from existing immigrants and minorities. Remember the phrase black jobs? I don't think the Biden administration predicted that there would be revolts of minorities versus minorities. They're taking my job.
Something, hold on.
I mean, unless we're saying that Trump imported millions of illegal voters as well, and then, like, I don't understand how Kamala would have gotten less votes. It doesn't make any sense.
All right, let me just swap you out, sir. You come in, sir.
Yeah, and this issue is not the current election, it's for the future.
Tell him.
Okay, I think that Kamala Harris was a particularly uninspiring candidate. I think she performed terribly on the campaign trail, unfortunately. So I don't think that there was anybody who was very...
Yes, Roger makes a good point. In 2020, there was mail-in voting, and Democrats used mail-in voting 2-to-1 compared to Republicans.
Well, there were supporters of the campaign, but obviously there was not a widespread sort of groundswell of energy behind her campaign. So while they may have thought perhaps we might get a lot of votes from a particular group or a particular base, it didn't actually eventuate just because she wasn't a particularly impressive candidate.
I'm not sympathetic to those arguments. One of the frustrating things I think about arguing with Trump supporters, there's a thing I like to call all roads lead to Rome. Basically, no matter what happens, there's always some kind of explanation for it. So in 2020, the election...
Oh, come on, Destiny. That goes both ways.
Election was clearly rigged because Trump lost. But then when Trump won in 2024, does that mean that it wasn't rigged then? But it means that, well, actually, they just rigged 2020, but they didn't rig...
Means it was too big to rig.
2024. But there's no evidence of any election being rigged except when Trump tried to rig it with the election.
In fact, if I really wanted to go Destiny here, I would say, actually, you know, the 2024, hey guys, I'll be the first one to tell you this. The 2024 election was also rigged and in a way stolen. Not by Trump, but there was so much fraud in 2024 that if it were legit, Trump would have won by like 5 or 10 percentage points, not just 1 or 2 on the popular vote. But because of all the fraud and all the illegal immigration that came in, it was tight. Oh, I wonder what Destiny would say to that. He would say, well, what's your evidence of that? And I'd say, we're just spitballing here.
Electoral votes. And then when you look at the actual arguments for, well, they brought in illegal immigrants to vote, but the illegal immigrants that were brought in to vote didn't like Kamala Harris enough that Like if you want to argue the merits of the campaign, that's fine, but you would never bring in illegal immigrants and then say, now that we brought you here legally, we want you guys to make the best decision on who you want to vote for. And then also just a quick thing, because this kept being brought up, whether or not you need an ID to vote is not the same as whether or not you need an ID to register to vote. Those are two fundamentally separate questions. And every state, as conservatives love states' rights, ought to have the ability to decide how they ID people or how they decide who's allowed to vote at the time of the election. But when it comes to...
And so far, nobody's addressed my main point, that the issue was not the immediate voting. It's for a pathway to citizenship so that 10 years, 20 years down the line, you have a solid Democrat base. So it would be next to impossible for Republicans to ever win again.
To registering somebody to vote, that's a separate question that you do need some form of identification for anybody that's registered to vote in any state.
Okay, so I don't think I made any claim about the election being rigged in either 2020 or in this election. So I'm not sure where that came from. But
well, this is an election rigging claim, right?
No,
Well, no,
the best.
I didn't personally make the claim that the election was rigged. I think if there was an intention to bring people in of a particular group which might lean towards the Democratic side, and that was the intention to allow people across the border, then potentially it's something which didn't work. Maybe it was an attempt to do something which didn't actually work out in their favor.
Yet. Like, imagine Harris would have won. Barely. You could still make the argument, well, see, it didn't really quite work because it was close. Like, we imported all these, according to Republicans, 20 million immigrants were sent in. And according to Republicans, there's so massive, the massive voter fraud. Why did Harris just barely win? Well, the issue is for the future. 10 years from now.
Can I ask a question just on that?
Yeah, and then we're out of time, but go ahead.
Yeah, or just like, I guess two things to keep in mind. It's the same question, kind of like, what would it take to ever convince you that that wasn't the case, considering I don't see any evidence of there being that plan in place? Like, how could you possibly be persuaded out of that position, I guess?
Out of the position that...
Oh, great question. See, that's an SC type question. What would change your mind? So, what would change my mind that the main reason what the Biden administration did was to affect votes in the future to get more Democrat votes? Easy. What would change my mind is if every immigrant who has been allowed into the country over the last 4 years were polled, and we take their word for it, and they're polled and they're asked, do you lean more Democrat or more Republican? And if it's like 50-50, or if it's like leaning towards the Republican side, I'd change my mind. And if the Democrats knew of this polling as they were doing this, they knowingly let in 50-50 or Republican-leaning immigrants. Like, a great question to ask Democrats would be this hypothetical thought experiment question. In fact, I would ask Destiny this. Do you think the Biden administration would have done the executive orders to seal the border quicker if they knew with 95% confidence that the majority of immigrants, no matter what country they came from, would vote for Donald Trump? Do you think they would have made the border more restrictive or less restrictive? Oh, that's a great question. Because they're shooting themselves in the foot by letting all these immigrants in that are going to vote for Donald Trump, either illegally now or in the future, for the Republicans 10 years down the road. Why would the Biden administration do that? Give up that power? Because they really care for poor people? Maybe.
They came here to work. COVID came, it destroyed a lot of economies around the world, and a lot of people were like, hey, the US is a huge economy and they want a lot of workers, I'm gonna go work up there. What would it take to persuade you that maybe that's why they came instead of Biden somehow?
I think there's definitely those factors. However, the amount of staggering incompetence at the border, I mean, the amount of people that were allowed to just go through, there was either...
I don't think it's incompetence. I think it was by design, directives to allow people to cross, claim asylum, fill a little bit of paperwork, and let's say, have a good day.
A plan in place to stand down certain security measures, or there was orders to not enforce them as fully as before. So I think
This guy's smart.
The facts play out that there was some kind of either plan or scaling back of security.
Okay. Could you go back, and I'm going to invite you up forward, sir, to directly address his comments, please?
Destiny, I'm very open-minded. I want you to convince me of it otherwise. But why were the illegal immigrants paid so much money to come into this country?
I think that there are dollar amounts you can offer people so that they have ability to subsist in the United States while they're here. The biggest issue that we have, unfortunately, this conversation is...
Actually, I'm very impressed that Destiny didn't even try to push back against that claim. He's acknowledging that illegal immigrants got a lot of money.
Already lost for all conservatives. You can't convince them of this otherwise, but we don't have like an illegal immigration problem such that they just come here illegally. The issue that we have is that the laws on the books are way too generous, and even I'll admit this, for people claiming asylum. And the issue is somebody can come into this country and they don't have to like sneak past the border guard and do some crazy shit. They can just turn themselves in and go, oh, I'm an asylum seeker. And once they've made that claim, because of our due process laws on the books, you have to process them in a court. And people, especially after COVID, when a ton of people started making these claims and then the system got backed up, you end up with catch and release, where somebody says, okay, I'm an asylum seeker, and you say, well, I can't really process you right now. Here's a slip, like, come back in your court date. And now you get all these people, millions of them, that are making these claims. Well, if they are going to be in this country, I mean, you have to give them some sort of like subsistence pay. Otherwise, they're going to commit crime. They're just going to start stealing stuff. Like, it's not ideal, I admit, but like, what else are you going to do?
Okay, Destiny's exactly right here. I think this is exactly what happened. That they were overwhelmed and they allowed them to cross the border, and then they claim asylum, and then you got problems. But this is why people voted for Trump, because Trump is the type of guy, type of president, who says, we put razor wire up so they can't even cross. Like if an immigrant's on the Mexican side and they haven't crossed in the United States yet, but they're right up against the border, and they see a border patrol guard, and they say, I claim asylum. The border guard has all the legal right to say, so what? But I'm being persecuted. Not in Mexico, you're not. Let me in. No, we're not letting you cross. There's a port of entry just 10 miles down the road. Go that way. No, let me in here. No, get out of here. Well, I'm going to cross, and if you do, we're going to just shove you right back before you cross the border so you don't have a chance to say the magic word. See, this is the difference between the Biden administration and the Trump administration. The Trump administration says, we're willing to let you die on the Mexican side if you don't do it legally. The Biden administration says, oh, we've got to have comprehensive immigration reform in a humane way. But that's what attracts more immigrants. If you as a president say, if you come to the border and you don't come in the legal way, we're prepared to just let you die at the fence. Now, if you believe the Trump administration, if they were to say something like that, do you think you would make that long 2,000-mile journey to the U.S. border, hearing that they're willing to let you die? This is why I think it's better to have more dead inside masculine type leaders when it comes to law and justice, because it's really hard for a bleeding heart to even utter those words. How inhumane, Doug. Where's your empathy? But sometimes it's a moral dilemma between what's best for the country and what's best for the immigrant.
Well, isn't it a convenience, or isn't it a fact that this happened during the Biden administration? $30,000 just to come into this, and then they came up with the undocumented immigrants, and they were trashing their IDs at the border.
If
Didn't
people
that
are
happen
trashing
during
their
Biden?
ID,
Isn't it obvious that this was one of the many strategies used? Unfortunately, they had Harris, who's horrible. Anyone can watch this person. A disaster. This
you can't really
woman
say that
was
if it's
a
an illegal-
disaster to this country. How can anyone vote for a disaster? Plus, you have Biden, this issue right here. How much money were they giving these illegal immigrants and asking them to ditch their IDs? It's obvious. Tell me how that isn't obvious and how that isn't a strong argument to convince you to get on this side.
Because I don't think that somebody is going to come here on the hope that they get a little bit of money from the United States government to subsist here and do nothing. I think people are generally coming here to work.
Not
that's
a
why
little bit
when
of
we
money.
see
Absolutely.
that's
Everyone
why,
wants to leave their country to come to the greatest country on the planet.
I'm so
Now,
sorry.
why
I
not
love
come
this
here
country.
for
This country is
Let's
not the
open
greatest country.
borders.
This greatest
That's what Biden did.
country.
Let's open those doors. Let's let
United
them all
States,
in.
The United
Let's
States,
get rid of their ID.
The United
Let's give them 30 grand.
Yeah, it's not
It's
30 grand.
obvious.
The United
Convince
States is,
me, please. I
the
beg you to
Uni- you're
convince
not,
me.
You're not here to be
otherwise.
convinced. But the
Using
United
a
States,
simple tactic.
the
Very
United
simple
States
words.
is not the greatest
Calm
country in
down,
the world
man.
for welfare. The United States is the greatest country in the world for opportunity because you can be the best version of yourself here,
Who's
not because we
arguing
give a
welfare?
ton of welfare.
Opportunity.
Opportunity to work.
Exactly. Why not come in with 30 grand than nothing?
Yeah.
Why not? What?
Why not come in with 30 grand in your pocket than nothing? That was obvious by
I don't think
opening
nobody
doors.
is getting.
It's
They're
opened
not
the
getting a
floodgates.
$30,000.
No, what I think this gentleman is saying, I'm trying to steelman him. Well, I guess we'll find out what he's really saying. But I think what he's saying is if you have a choice who to let in, someone with 30 grand in their pocket and somebody with none, all else equal, let the person in with money, not the poor person. And then again, this makes the people on the left go crazy. Where's your compassion? Where's your mercy? Where's your love?
Open the
to the United
floodgates.
States. Then why didn't Trump allow them to close them when they had the border bill? That Lankford, a Republican in the Senate, he proposed a border bill. We had a border bill to close the border. Why did Trump shoot that down?
You know, that's a
Oh.
great fact.
Oh, yeah, I wish I was here. I hope he answers this way. Why did Trump shoot that down? Because all you have to do is enforce the current laws on the books. And Biden proved this. The Biden administration proved this. Remember, the immigration numbers were sky high, and then because of public pressure, the Biden administration finally had to cave. He tried to, have new legislation, but then that didn't happen because of Trump. Well, and because of Republicans. And then he did it himself through executive orders. He started putting back the executive orders that Trump had in the first place. And what happened? Then they started bragging. Illegal immigration crossings are at the same level as the Trump administration, blah, blah, which wasn't quite true. But anyhow, they did drop. Biden himself proved that no new legislation was necessary.
I couldn't argue something that might be a fact. I don't know what is the fact, but the fact that Trump ran on building the wall and closing the borders, what you say makes zero sense to me.
Okay, you should
Explain
look
this
into
to me.
that. Well,
Why would that make sense?
Well, because the real reason, and again, I'm just screaming into the abyss here, but the real reason is illegal immigration is not anywhere near the problem that Trump and everybody else makes it out to be, which is why he had no problem killing
Tell that to Springfield, Ohio.
that border bill, and which is why
Tell that to Denver, Colorado.
he's been in office now for
Tell that to New York, New York.
a month and has done absolutely nothing at the border. Instead, all we've done is we've antagonized our neighbors, we've threatened insane tariffs, and then we've made enemies of ourselves to the rest of the world, I guess by supporting the total expulsion of every Gazan from the Gaza Strip and by supporting Russia. We haven't done any. What happened to the border? I thought that the border was the most important thing. Why have we gone a whole month without any focus on it?
Well, obviously, you're not talking to the abyss because Trump won. And everything that you can do to convince me otherwise is extremely valuable.
Are you
So when-
disappointed that Trump hasn't fixed the border in his first month in office or done anything about it at all?
No one can fix the border in a month.
When was this filmed, Reed? This was 2 weeks ago, right?
Hasn't touched it.
No, he hasn't
I
touched
thought it was the most important
How
thing.
many executive orders has he put into place?
How many of them deal with the border?
Are we going to get there? Are you saying that Trump is not going to deal with the border, which he hasn't
Did
already
he run
in
out of
4 years
ink in his pen? I don't
administration?
understand. Was
What
it
is there
more
not to
important to get
understand?
rid of trans
Great
women
things
in
take time.
high
They
school
don't happen
sports?
overnight.
Okay, did Destiny seriously say why hasn't Trump done anything on the border? He said that, right? Like, is he not aware that the amount of illegal border crossings have dropped about 94% according to the CBP? Is he not aware that, yeah, we're at record level illegal crossings? Record low? Did the economies of other nations suddenly get better? Did COVID suddenly just go away? Did all the problems of the world suddenly go away? And that's why there's less illegal crossings? No, it's because of the administration. The administration makes a difference. What kind of administration you have. What is surely Destiny is aware of these things.
No, but why? He's not doing anything right now. Are you telling me getting rid of birthright citizenship was more important, or getting rid of trans people in grade school sports?
He made Remain in Mexico back in there. He started putting up razor wire. He called the military to go to the border. Things that the Harris administration would have never have done. Can you imagine the Harris administration proudly stating we're putting razor wire on the border? Proudly stating we're putting the military on the border? No, they would never have done that. That's too inhumane. It sends the wrong message.
More important, or that writing any of the other 50 different executive orders on random issues was more important than closing the border? I thought this was the most important issue.
The most important issues? We have tons of issues.
What's more important than the border?
The greatest issues to handle right away are the low-lying fruit, and that's what he's doing.
He's
only been there for a month.
Yeah, and he hasn't. What issues has he handled that were more important than the border so far?
Well, we could sit in here and argue about all the issues that he has done, which that's why we're here.
Give me one.
But the fact is
Just
that
one.
immigration is absolutely on his target, and it's going to be solved.
But threatening 25% tariffs was more important. Tariffing steel, that was more important.
Bringing more money into the country so we can handle
bringing money
immigration
how into the country?
is absolutely
Where's the money coming from? The Republicans just asked for a $4 trillion increase on the deficit. I thought we were.
They're totally off topic here. Peter should have stepped in. Like, this is no longer even about immigration.
Done deficit spending.
We could sit here and argue on these small topics. But
And we're out of time. We're out of time. Let me do this. I'm going to swap you in, sir, and you back. So the best explanation for the increase in illegal immigration during the Biden administration is voter importation. What do you have to say to this gentleman?
The left side of politics has a proclivity for open borders, porous borders, call it what you like, not so much because they want to import voters for the Democrat Party, but because
Okay, so this was done, Reed says this was done February 22nd. Yeah, okay. So maybe this data wasn't out yet. But this is March 1st. Under the leadership of POTUS, under the leadership of Trump, February 2025 saw just 8,326 encounters at the southwest border, the lowest documented by U.S. Border Patrol. The mission is clear: secure the border, enforce the law, current laws, and protect American sovereignty. And Secretary Kristi Noem says February was the lowest month in recorded history for encounters at our border. Just the fact that Trump was elected president stopped people from even making the effort towards heading to the border. And this is what I said even before the election back in 2024. I said, you want a guy like Trump who is even viewed as a xenophobe, bigot, and racist. You want that type of president if you have an immigration problem. The world is hearing our message: do not come to our country illegally. If you do, we will find you, arrest you, and send you back, and no more free lunch. I added that part on my own.
deeper fundamental philosophical reason and ideology is driving them. And that ideology is that...
So basically what I just said makes Destiny look really foolish now. What has Trump done at the border? Just if he would have waited, if you, was it 8 days? 9 days? 9 days later, Destiny's looking foolish for asking that question.
Everyone should be allowed to cross whatever border they like at any time, regardless of whether or not they're going to vote for the Democrats. It is a deep impulse of people who tend in the direction of Marxism, let's say, to reject the idea of nation states and the importance of nation states. And so it's not a unique phenomenon in the US. This is true across left-leaning political parties in Australia, Canada, throughout Europe as well.
It's always existed, of course.
Yes. So I would say that they weren't primarily motivated by thinking that it would help them win the election, but rather they're going to take the opportunity as soon as they get into power to allow the borders to be open because they think that is the compassionate thing to do, to allow these poor denizens of other countries to come into this country and to have all the opportunities that this country can afford them, regardless of how they vote.
And that's your subjective opinion.
That's actually, remember my main thought was, it probably was to get Democrat votes, but my second reason was just the bleeding heart compassion reason, and that's what this guy is saying, which could be true.
Absolutely. The passion of opening borders Absolutely, but I think it's blatantly obvious the fact that they've given so much money and so much help to the illegal immigrants, and to tell them, let's ditch your IDs, we don't need to see, we don't need to know who you are. We just need you over here and remember who's helped you.
Okay, I'm gonna keep this going. Let me just swap you in, sir, real quick. Do I go?
Hey, Reed, is Doge, do they talk about Doge in this episode?
Go there.
Wherever you believe, and I'll swap you out. Wherever you stood, you step out. So what do you have to say to this gentleman?
So yeah, I don't disagree that that's definitely like an undergirding philosophy of that, but I think that what a lot of us are missing here is that why I'm not all the way over there is because I think it's financial incentive more than anything. Illegal immigration and this border crisis has become an industry with hoteliers getting billion-dollar contracts from our government to house migrants, by the way, in very fancy, expensive hotels too. So I think that we're kind of missing that point, and helping with the election isn't just about direct.
By the way, place your bets. What's the chances this guy's gay?
Voters say none of the illegals could vote at all. They're coming in, they're adding to this industry of illegal migration. All these people are making millions and millions of dollars off it. Who are
Not
they
that there's
donating
anything
that
wrong
money
with
to?
that.
It's going to circle back. So I feel like it's this ecosystem that kind of feeds itself. And I don't think it has to be like 1 + 1 = direct vote from an illegal. There's a lot of ways that people can use the industry of immigration and illegal immigration to affect politics.
Yeah, so there's 3 reasons now. The reason why Biden allowed so much illegal immigration is 1, to get votes, 2, because they're bleeding hearts, and 3, because of business, money, capitalism, bad stuff.
Yes, I think it's incidental to the average illegal immigrant that it was the Democrats, for example, who allowed them to come in. I think that they just wanting to come in order to reap the fruits and the rewards of a nation like this, as they reap the fruits and rewards of going into a place like the United Kingdom. But again, I would come back to
But you don't have to allow it. This is the thing, and this is why all this is actually quite laughable 9 days later when we start getting data in of just how effective Trump's policy is. Now, you can disagree with it and say, well, no, we should let more illegals in or let them claim asylum or whatever. But you got to admit, Trump has been very effective at sealing that border.
The claim is about whether or not is the best explanation is the reason why they've opened up the border is to increase their voter base. I think that they don't care about, well, they do care, of course, about whether or not their vote increases, but fundamentally what is driving the Democrats and what is driving the left is a sense of compassion for people who don't have the same kind of opportunity. And that's the reason why. It's not so they can selfishly get the vote and win the election, because I think they would have the border open throughout, before the election cycle. At any time they happen to get in to power, they are going to have a more porous border because they think an increase in the amount of legal and illegal immigration is a wonderful thing.
All right, cool. Let's go back to the...
Yeah, it can be a wonderful thing, but it cannot. It depends on the demographics of who you're letting in. Are they low skilled? Are they poor? Are they criminals? Are they sick? And then look at the averages. That's why when people use studies, like immigration's always, whether it's illegal or legal, immigration's always a wonderful thing. All you have to do is, if someone says that to you, this is what you say back. You say, here's a hypothetical thought experiment. Are you okay with hypotheticals? If they say no, then just don't bother. But if they say, yes, I'm okay with hypothetical thought experiments because I'm a smart guy and I took philosophy in university. Then you ask them, okay, here's a hypothetical. We let in 1 million people, immigrants. They're all rapists and murderers and pedophiles, every single one. Would you still say immigration's a good thing? Well, Doug, that would never happen. It's a hypothetical. Well, of course it's not a good thing. Yeah, right. So now, how about if it's, instead of 100% all pedophiles, murderers, and rapists, let's say it's 90, 80, 70, 60. Keep going down until they say, yeah, now it's worth it. I'm willing to let in 1% murderers, rapists, and pedophiles, as long as 99% of them are good people. And this is very subjective. I've asked this question of people, and they will give different answers. Some people are willing to tolerate 10% criminals to help the 90% because they're so loving, so compassionate. We're saving their lives, Doug. So we're saving 90% of the lives. and all we have to do in return is allow 10% to kill our own people. I mean, that's not bad.
The U.S. should have birthright citizenship.
Ooh.
Move.
Okay, where would I go? The U.S. should have birthright citizenship, meaning if you're just born here, no matter what, you are a citizen. I would say strongly disagree. Strongly, not absolutely, but strongly disagree. You should not, just because you're born here doesn't mean you're automatically a citizen.
Sorry.
Should I give my reason now or wait? I'll give it now so I'm not biased or tainted by anyone. So here's my reasoning. My reasoning is there has to be carve-outs. You can't make it a blanket that no matter what, as long as you're born on U.S. soil, you're a U.S. citizen. I think that's absolute. Well, I just used the word absolutely. I shifted myself. I've gone now from strongly disagree to absolutely disagree. I absolutely disagree with that. There has to be carve-outs for certain people. And there already are carve-outs, from my understanding, in the United States, like for MSc kids and so forth. Just because you're born here doesn't mean you automatically become a citizen. So, in my opinion, you become a U.S. citizen not simply because you're born here, but because your parents are legal residents of the United States. So if I have a first cousin, a double first cousin actually, named Leon, who was born in California when his dad, my uncle, sabbaticaled. He was a PhD in chemistry, sabbaticaled in Riverside, California. So he was born in the United States, got U.S. citizenship. He spent almost his entire life in Canada until he became older, and then he went all over the world. But he did live in the United States for like a year, I think. But should he really deserve or get U.S. citizenship because his dad spent 6 months in Riverside, California on a sabbatical? And his mom had no desire to live in the United States for the rest of her life. The answer is no. It's clearly no. There's my reasoning.
Why don't you decide among yourselves who's going to go to the neutral? You go to the strongly disagree. And why don't you decide among yourselves who's going to go to the absolutely agree? Okay, we're going to see if any of these arguments, especially you, move you, and we're going to give you an opportunity to ask either of them questions at some point. And again, anyone is free to move at any point along the lines. Okay, and we're going to set the timer for 3 minutes. Have a conversation.
First off, birthright citizenship was enumerated in our Constitution. It was then in 1898 in a Supreme Court case ruling, U.S. versus, and it was a Chinese name with 3 syllables, and I'm not going to take a crack at it, that it was that a foreign, 2 illegal immigrants or 2 foreign immigrants that came to America, if they had a child on U.S. soil, that child is a U.S. citizen. So I believe that we shouldn't go about overturning Supreme Court. I believe that we shouldn't go about editing.
Oh boy, you know what went through my head when he said that. I believe we shouldn't go about overturning the Supreme Court. Oh, not even on the abortion issue? Really? Okay. Not on that the president has full immunity as long as he's doing operations in the office of the presidency? Boy, I could get this guy to really swallow a lot.
Our Constitution is something that's been
Prohibition,
that same way
slavery.
and reinforced.
Yeah, it's a good one to read. Slavery. It used to be constitutional to have slaves. Yeah, on this argument, and we'll see if this guy who's on the opposite side says this, but this comes down to interpretation of what the founding fathers intended in the Constitution. Did they have this idea of globalization in their mind in the 18th century? How easy it would be to go from China to the United States, Japan to the United States, Europe to the United States, that people would just come and visit and then leave. Like, were they envisioning that? Did they envision that there'd be places like Disneyland where people would come for a week, enjoy America, and then just fly and leave. No, I don't think they envisioned that. I think they envisioned that if you want to make the United States your home and you're born here and you have no other place to go, you're not coming from anywhere, like you're just like, I'm sure slaves are going to be brought up here, then you're a U.S. citizen. But visitors who have no intent, they don't even care about the United States, why should they be citizens?
By the Supreme Court?
Well, I think the birthright citizenship in America is much different than it is across other countries. France and other countries in Europe have a version of birthright citizenship, but it requires that at least one parent is a citizen. Or I think in the UK, must have at least legal stay. I don't think America requires any of that. So again, going back to kind of like the industry aspect of it, we literally have hospitals that rent out, some of the most common one are Chinese immigrant women that will come in to the hospital because they can afford it, have a child here, and they get legal status, and their child gets legal status. So
yeah, it's a way to gain the system, rig the system in your favor. This happens, the classic example is right here in my home state of Yuma, Arizona, where people, in the past at least, cross the border, pregnant women, have the child on the U.S. side, and that's their plan. Their plan is to use this as a way for their child to sponsor themselves and become U.S. citizens so they can make more money.
I think it's being abused, and I think it's clearly being abused, and I don't know of any other developed countries that have that kind of a system where it's cross and you're American.
Sure. So I don't think that that's the majority of birthright citizenship cases where people are flying in or traveling from another country, having a child, and then going back to that country. I think that the majority of cases are illegal immigrants that are fleeing the conditions in their own country that they literally cannot go back to. The other issue is that if we have a child that's born on American soil, but we don't consider them an American, they grow up in America, they go to American schools, they have an American accent, let's say they never go back to their home country, they never end up speaking that language, so are we just going to deport them?
That's a great question. His other point about, well, that's not the majority of the time, visitors coming and leaving, like the case of my cousin Leon. That's not the majority of the issue. He's right, it's not the majority, but that's a very clear example of an exception that I think most reasonable people would say, of course not, they really shouldn't be citizens. That's easy. And that's why that exception or that issue is brought up, because it's an easy one for most people to. So now if they can say to themselves, well, okay, if we have an exception for visitors, then where else should we have exceptions? Like the left is open to exceptions. They're open to exceptions when it comes to males competing in female sports. So just apply this now to birthright citizenship. What other carve-outs should we have? Visitors shouldn't be automatically citizens. How about illegal aliens? If your parents came here illegally, maybe that should be another carve-out. Now, the issue this person just brought up, what do you do with the people whose parents came here illegally 30 years ago? They're fully assimilated into the United States. Do we boot that person because we take birthright citizenship away? But that's not what the Trump administration is proposing. They would not make it retroactive. It would be from this point forwards. But even so, in my opinion, what you do is you give a fine to the parents and you allow them to stay if they have no criminal record and that sort of thing. If they're a blessing to society, not a burden. They should at least have to pay what I had to pay to get in the country. So give them a slap on the wrist and move on.
I think we have gradations of like residency in this country, right? You can be a citizen, you can have legal stay, which means you can't vote or do other things. So I don't think it has to be an all or nothing.
Yeah, give them a green card, make them pay a fine, give them a green card, and then they have to apply for citizenship.
I don't think we should reward, even if they are families, with citizenship, which is American citizenship people, it is one of the most valuable things in the entire world to individuals. And I don't think we should be rewarding individuals that come in immediately breaking our laws, especially when it's kind of done in a manipulative type of way. And I don't think that's a majority of it, but I use that example to demonstrate it's so prolific that now it's an almost industry.
Okay, so what you said, do you think that there should be somewhere between citizenship where it's like they can live here, they can work here, but they can't vote? Is that?
Yeah, that's called a green card.
I think it would kind of have to depend on the case. I think right now we're going through something where we're seeing the amount of people that we have here illegally, and we're going through a lot of changes. I think once we get a look at the actual numbers, we can make decisions like that. But right now, I think it's being abused.
All right, our 3 minutes is up. You, sir.
Yeah, Roger says in the live stream chat, my position is that you have one citizen parent and born overseas, you get citizenship. I don't know. I lean that both parents have to be citizens in order for you to automatically be a citizen when you're born here. Now, am I shooting myself in the foot with my own kids? So then technically my kids would not automatically be citizens until after my wife and I became citizens. Am I okay with that? I think I am.
Sir, have questions to each gentleman here.
Well, I agree on some points with both of them. My own opinion is that there should be a little more study done on it. This is a relatively new area. What he said about the 1898 decision, that was great, but the conditions were different in 1898 than they are in 2025, and Supreme Court decision.
Thanks for the donation, D. Basilisk. Doug, if someone transitions from assigned foreigner at birth to citizen, what country Olympics sports team should they play for? After they transition? Oh, see, this is a trap question. Very good, Basilisk. I think if you're a smart person, this is a trap question. If you're a dumb person, this is just a question. So I would say, in this case, after transitioning, I know where you're going with this. I like you, De Basilisk. I like you. After transitioning to the United States, you're not automatically U.S. citizen, but then you transition because to citizenship. Yeah, you should play for the United States then. Yeah. Does that answer your question? Thanks for the donation. But before that, before transitioning, you play for the country of both your parents. Now, if both your parents are from different countries, ooh, that gets interesting. What Olympic team do you play for? So let's say you're born in the U.S., but your mom and dad are not U.S. citizens. In fact, let's say they're illegal. And your dad is from Ireland and your mom is from Germany, and you're a professional athlete. What Olympic team do you play for? Ooh. I think you got to have a hierarchy at that point. You got to say, go with the mom's first, dad's second. Yeah. And then what if you have pirates who don't have any nationality? Then you're screwed. Then you can't play for any country.
Get overturned all the time.
Do you have any questions specifically for either one?
No, I would just like to see much more study done on it before I make a decision.
And when you say study, what do you mean?
I'd like to see, as much as I don't want to see more government commissions, there should be some sort of a commission set up.
For what?
Where I agree with this gentleman that there should be gradations of citizenship or residency requirements.
That's already there. You have visas, you have green cards, and you have citizenship. It's already there. What's this guy talking about?
Okay. Who changed their mind here? Who moved? Did you move twice? Yes. You moved twice. That's good. That's good. Moving twice is good. So what caused you to move the first time in a bottom line it, and then what caused you to move back?
The bottom line is the citizenship. I'm a constitutionalist, and I agree with that. But then I didn't think about the fact that there are people coming in illegally to have a child here, and then they get to stay here because their child is an American.
So you moved twice. You moved once?
Did she say she didn't think of that before?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, bottom line, why'd you move?
Because people from Central and South America that they're coming here to have kids. And I think there's a gray area. The ones, if they're children from legal immigrants, they're fine to stay. But if they're children from illegal immigrants, I don't think they should.
Okay, who else?
You know what's interesting about this topic is it's also an argument. Like if you're a person who's, let illegal aliens come into our country, claim asylum, then have kids here, and then that's their pathway to citizenship. That could be viewed as an argument for colonialism. Wouldn't it be better if instead of them wanting to come to the United States to reap the benefits of the United States of America, it's such a great land of opportunity, wouldn't it be better for them to stay in their own country, have the United States take their country over, and duplicate the governmental system, the Constitution, whatever, in their country so they can stay in the land of their family, the land of their forefathers, instead of having to uproot and go somewhere else? It's very interesting that these arguments can be turned around saying that the United States should be replicated into these countries where so many immigrants want to flee from and go to the United States. Instead of going to the United States, let's bring the United States to them and take over their country, right?
Else moved? Where did you move from where to where?
I moved from disagree to slightly agree, and the bottom line was the constitutional argument. I didn't realize that there was such a long history of birthright citizenship in the US. However, I've not moved to fully agreeing, just because I do believe that it is open to some abuse.
Okay, I'm going to do something. Everybody stay there. I'm going to have you go back, and you decide amongst yourselves who wants to go forward. And then I'm going to swap out the neutral. Can you come forward, sir? Okay, you have 3 minutes to have a conversation. The U.S. should have birthright citizenship, and then I'm going to give you an opportunity to ask questions. Go.
Yeah, I like to use common sense and logic in any decision that I see fit. And for example, I don't see anyone looking as having a child as a benefit of taking advantage of a system where, okay, we get our papers, but God, now we have to deal with this kid. Jesus Christ, what do we? This is horrible. It's unfathomable to me that people would come here, not already want a child, but if they come here illegally and say, you know what, here's a benefit. My parents did it. They were here on a visa. Their visa was going to expire. Okay, let's look at our options. Oh, look at this. We're married, aren't we? We want to have kids anyways. Don't we want to have a family? Great. Perfect. So you want to legalize immigrants, but you don't want to have a child be born in this country and not be an instant citizen? Makes zero sense to me.
Interesting.
Wait, what you're saying is that I don't want legal immigrants that come here and have a child to have citizenship for their child? That's not what the premise is. We're talking about illegal immigration. So they cross illegally, have a child, and now they get legal stay and their child's a citizen. That's what I'm disagreeing with. Of course, my parents were refugees, so I was born here after my parents migrated here from Russia. I understand the value of immigration and refugee status and all of that. But that's not really what we're talking about. We're talking about people abusing the system of birthright citizenship. And on the point about the Constitution, I believe that was intended for recently relieved slaves for their children to have citizenship and be considered American citizens. And if you look at the actual text, it says subject to the jurisdiction thereof, which some legal scholars interpret as they are subject to the laws of, meaning they are legally there. So if you're not subject to the laws, why would you get the benefit of citizenship just by birthright?
Point.
Well, birthright citizenship doesn't talk about illegals or legals.
But it does talk about subject to the jurisdiction thereof. That means legal or illegal.
It's talking about being born in this country and instantly being a citizen. What happens with the parents is another issue. The point here is that if you're born in this country, how terrible would it be to say, hey, look, you were born here, but too bad, so sad, you need to go back.
That's not terrible at all in some cases. Why would that be terrible as a default? How terrible would it be to tell a person, you're born here, but you're not a citizen? I can think of many examples where that's not terrible at all. I already listed them.
I just don't understand how you so agreed with that they're using illegal immigration to manipulate our country and politics, but then you're totally okay with the same
Yeah,
people just
that's why I said interesting earlier.
having children and getting legal stay.
Absolutely not. I never agreed with that. That's what you're saying, that people are taking advantage of the system, coming to this country and say, hey, let's just have a kid and get our papers. I disagree with that.
Oh boy. Okay, you can disagree with that, but I wish I could teleport him into a Yuma hospital in the year 2022 or 2023 and walk down the hospital, even here in Tucson, walk down the hospital, the maternity ward, and actually talk to the parents. Where are you from? Sonora, Chihuahua, Sonora, Chihuahua, Sonora, Chihuahua. Those are the two states of Mexico bordering the United States. Oh, and there's there's an American. Every fifth room.
Oh, no,
I don't
they
believe
can
that's
come
happening. That's a
pregnant.
myth. People believe certain things,
not
but
a
there's
myth.
zero facts proving this in any way, shape, and form. Just use your logic. Who would have a child just to have papers? and then have to deal with the 30 years of that child?
There's
'cause that's what-
left-leaning magazines that have talked about this.
We have three minutes. I'm going to give you one question to each side. Why don't you give this gentleman the first question?
Okay, well, first of all, you took away one of my arguments about the initial intent.
So what's your question?
My question to you is, if somebody is here illegally and they go through the process of becoming a legal immigrant, not a citizen, but an immigrant, do you think that they should have the opportunity to become a citizen?
Okay, let me understand the question. If they've come here legally, they're following a process to become legal.
They've come here illegally, okay? They've gone through the process to be here legally, but not a citizen, okay? Do you think they should have the opportunity to become a citizen?
Yes, but outside our country. So they come illegally, you kick them out, and you don't feel bad about kicking them out. And then they, in another country, not America, they fill out the proper paperwork to come back into the country illegally. And then the United States is under no compunction to accept them back, but they should be allowed to try again. That's how I would answer it.
Define coming here illegally.
You cross the border, okay?
Illegally.
And you go through the process, you go through your court dates, and at that point you get a green card, okay? But you're still not a citizen, okay? Do you think that they should have the opportunity once they get a green card, do you think that they should have the opportunity to become an American citizen?
In fact, by law, as long as you don't commit any crimes, if you have a green card, now, as long as you haven't committed any crimes, or is there other exceptions? I think there's a few exceptions, but if you have a green card, I think by default, you have the opportunity to become a citizen. You're not guaranteed it, but at least you have the opportunity.
Absolutely, because they actually came into this country and started following a process. 100%.
Was his answer sufficient to move you to slightly agree or no?
Yeah.
Okay, well then it's a free country. Okay. And now you have one question to this gentleman.
Okay, and when I say become a citizen, I mean taking the test to become a citizen, okay?
What's your question to this gentleman?
What are your thoughts about that?
About his answer to your question?
About my question and his answer.
If someone illegally crosses the border, so illegally comes to this country, and then after like X amount of years or something, you're saying like wants to try to apply for citizenship or just stay?
No, they get a green card, okay,
Right.
and they stay. And then
The problem with this question is it's a hypothetical because practically, I don't think this would ever happen. If you cross the border illegally and you're deemed as an illegal, I don't think you would ever get a green card. Now, some people view border crossing illegally as just a misdemeanor, but it's still a federal offense. And if you do it repeatedly, then it becomes a felony. So, I don't know, maybe it's a bit of a gray area. But I think the default position would be if you're an illegal alien, you probably would never get a green card.
they have the opportunity to become a citizen.
Based on current laws.
Do you think they should have that opportunity?
I think if they pass a certain threshold, yeah. I mean, sure, but it has to be a pretty tight, narrow threshold to pass because that's like again, it feels like rewarding negative behavior with something that people are killing themselves to get. You know what I mean? And it's so unfair, especially whoever mentioned that immigration takes forever. You're right. It's true. Our immigration system is a mess. I don't think it needs to be more complicated. I think we should make it more streamlined for sure. But what's happening?
Actually, you know what? I disagree with that. I don't think our immigration system is a mess. I went through the system. Now, was it slow? Yes. But was it a mess? No, I don't think so. There was just hoops I had to jump through, and it just took time to jump through them. And could it be faster? Yes. Would I have liked it to be faster? Yes. But still, the goal of a country is not, oh, what can we do for you, Doug, Canadian Doug? How can we provide you with the best service? No, we're the United States of America. If you have to wait, Doug, Canadian Doug, you wait. And don't cry about it. In fact, if you cry about it, we might not let you in. The same like with Disney. It's not fair that to get on to Pirates of the Caribbean, I have to wait 30 minutes. I mean, it's not efficient. It's a mess. But if you really want to get on the Pirates of the Caribbean at Disney, and the wait time's 30 minutes, then you wait 30 minutes. What's this entitlement?
Happening now is clearly abusive. And I don't know. I just feel like it's that's fairly obvious. But
And you're right. It does take a long time because we know people that have come here legally, and it took them 8 years.
Okay. Did he say anything that convinced you to move back to the neutral or no?
No, I'm good right here.
Okay. Did anybody change their mind on anything? You did change your mind.
I moved a little more agree, yeah.
What caused you to change your mind?
He reminded me, I guess, of something I've heard before, but stateless people are a huge problem for the world. And the idea of having somebody come in here, give birth to a child, and they don't have citizenship in the United States, and then the legality of that person coming in is questionable. Like sometimes the question of where you deport them to. Are you creating stateless people without citizenship? Because it's unclear if they would even have citizenship in another area. So
yeah, that's what someone in the live stream chat. I bet you whoever said that in the live stream chat here had seen this already and knew this argument. But yeah, it is a problem, and what do you do in those situations? I don't know. Put them on an ice floe, let them fend for themselves.
Is that sufficient to move anybody else? No.
Yeah. There were two other.
Go ahead.
There were two other quick things too. I heard the constitutional argument. One argument that I hear a lot from conservatives, or really from anybody, the left does it too, depending on the issue. Some people have a principled attachment to some things, even if bad things are happening. I personally, I really like guns. I have a lot of firearms. I picked up one right after this show. I think that there are bad things that happen with guns in this country, and I think some people abuse the Second Amendment. But I would never say, well, let's get rid of the Second Amendment because some people abuse it. Much the same, I think birthright citizenship is amazing. I love the Reagan speech where he talks about how I could never become French or Japanese in the same way a Frenchman or a Japanese citizen is Japanese or French, but anybody can become an American. And while there is an argument that not everybody around the world does birthright citizenship the same way the United States does, almost every country in the New World does birthright citizenship this way, not just for slaves, but because when people were coming over from colonies and going to South American countries or territories or North American ones, it was because they didn't want to be subjects of or citizens of the places that they were coming from. So almost.
Yeah, okay, yeah, Destiny's bringing up some good points here. But I would say that here's a way to make the medicine go down better. So I am against birthright citizenship. And the way I would explain it to people like Destiny would say, we already have carve-outs. We already have exceptions to the rule. So let's just view it as a rule. The default position is if you're born here, you get citizenship. But there's several exceptions. Maybe this is an easier way to sell it. Here's exception number one. Ambassadors. They're representing other countries. They really have no intent to stay here. It's already carved out. Their kids are not automatically citizens of the United States. So that's one carve-out. Here's another carve-out. Illegal aliens. If your very first thing you do is break the law to come into our country and you have a kid here, that kid is not automatically, now they might be in the future, but they're not automatically U.S. citizens. So there's two carve-outs. What's some other carve-outs? Yeah, visitors. People on sabbatical, people here on vacation, just because they have kids here, they have no intent of participating in the future of our society. No, they don't automatically become citizens if they're born here. So there's three carve-outs right there. So you can view it as birthright citizenship with three exceptions.
country in the New World in North and South America has birthright citizenship.
Okay. Yep, I'll give you a last word, sir.
Well, he said one of the points I wanted to make about South American Caribbean countries, they have birthright citizenship. That's one of the points I wanted to make. But you all have to remember, we're talking about a baby.
Oh, come on. Oh, come on. I don't like this guy anymore. I thought he was Trinidadian. I kind of liked him because my wife is Trinidadian. But you got to remember, we're talking about a baby. Don't use that emotional manipulation on me, fellow.
A baby, a small child who has no say in this. The conversation's going all over the place. But there's a baby involved, an innocent baby. What do we do with him? Put him in the middle of the ocean because he is not an American citizen that's born here?
See, it's rhetoric like this. Like, I'm average empathy, but I'm really low on compassion. I've taken tests. I'm really low on compassion. And when I hear people talk like this, I just want to eat a baby at this point. Like, don't give me this, but it's just a baby. I mean, like, let's carve one up and put them on the barbecue. Come on, stop it with this rhetoric.
What do we do with it?
I am an atheist, so I eat babies.
Literally.
Brett, I'm going to give you, because you're Australian from an island, talk about oceans. You're an expert on oceans. I'm going to give you the last word.
By what criteria are people entitled to citizenship? Some people seem to assume that it comes down to genetics. So if both of your parents are US citizens, then by virtue of the fact that they are your parents, then you automatically inherit US citizenship. I'm not sure exactly what the legalities are. If you happen to be born overseas, you'll probably still be a US citizen. But I think that one criteria, at least, and there may be many, of course you could become an immigrant here and go through the process legally and then become a US citizen. But why not throw into the mix, if you happen to be born here, why not also be a US citizen? The more that you have, the better the place will be. The more people, the better. The more problem solvers there are.
Yeah, and the more people, the better. That's not true either. Yeah, the Australians, they're all crazy. What about students, Doug? Yeah, another good, that's the fourth carve-out, Anna. So just because I came here into the United States as a student, and this didn't happen, we already had our green cards when we had our kids. But if my wife and I would have reproduced, I would say that's a fourth carve out. Our kids wouldn't automatically be citizens, because at that point in our lives, we didn't know if we wanted to go back to Canada after we were done school or stay in the United States. Yeah, so there's 4 exceptions. So yeah, to sum up, here's a great way to sell non-birthright citizenship. This is if you're leaning right, if you're pro non-birthright citizenship, if you're against birthright citizenship, this is how you sell it. You sell it as, yeah, I'm okay with birthright citizenship. However, there has to be some exceptions that are very reasonable. Ambassadors, illegal immigrants, visitors, and students. Because in all 4 situations, we have a situation where, well, in one situation, some people are doing the illegal stuff. In the other 3, it's people who really don't have a desire for the best interest of our country to begin with. They have countries to go back to. They're here temporarily. So, no, we just don't automatically give them citizenship. I think that's a very easy sell. I think most reasonable people say, and especially if they're not, if you're not a bleeding heart, you can say, yeah, that's reasonable, Doug. I can see that. So let's have birthright citizenship with 4 major carve-outs. And maybe we can think of 5 or 6. Peter and this Australian guy, Brett Hall, that's this guy here, had a debate among themselves about the claim the world should have less people. Coming soon. Oh, interesting. What side was Peter on? Let me bring up the whereby link, if somebody wants to hop on and disagree with me. I welcome disagreement. I'll be nice. I'm a tit-for-tat strategy type of guy. If you treat me nice, I'll treat you nice. If you treat me poorly, I'll start to make you look like an idiot. Peter was on the less people side. Yeah, where am I on that? Should there be more, less, or the same? Was that an option? The same? If the only two options, more or less, I would say less as well. But I think we're actually at a good number right now in the world. The distribution's kind of awry, but I think our planet can easily handle, what are we at, 7.5 billion? Could we handle double that? I don't know. Australians think more people's always good because they only have 2 million. Yeah, maybe. Oh, my favorite liberal is here. You're not actually a liberal. You're a progressive. You're a woke mind virus guy, right? I can't hear you yet. Maybe you can't hear me, which is good because I kind of insulted you. 2 billion is a good number. Well, what is it in the year 2050? 2050, population is going to start to decline. I can't hear you. Can't hear you. So if you can hear me, go to the gearbox, make sure your settings are right for your mic, and then refresh. My connection was lost. What? How is that possible? I paid my internet bill.
Hey, you can hear me now, I think.
Yeah, but hang on. I think I'm not live. Can you tell from your end? Go to YouTube and see if I'm live.
Looks like it's still streaming live. I think you are.
Really?
Pretty certain.
Hang on. This is interesting.
I don't see myself on the screen yet, though.
My computer has not crashed in a long time.
Let's see. No, I think here I'm going to turn the YouTube stream on. You might get an echo here. No, you're live. I just heard my voice on YouTube. 99% sure you're live. You could check with your audience. Just say like, give a 1 in the chat if we're live.
This is interesting. Yeah, I am live. How's that possible? Because I closed everything down and I'm still going. Good thing I didn't do anything inappropriate while thinking I wasn't live, right?
Yeah, Tom's saying it's live. So
okay.
You're good to go.
Sorry for that little 2-minute problem, 5-minute problem, but
you're throwing some Canadian my way already, saying sorry.
Yeah, I'm an illegal immigrant, right?
Well, did you want to talk about that or something else? What's your call?
Well, okay, what did you? Okay, are you against birthright citizenship or for it?
I think what we need to do. Okay, so I'll answer the question.
Where do you lean?
I lean in favor.
Okay, so what do you think about my sales pitch? So
Give it again. Sorry.
so I lean against it, but I'm going to sell it in a certain way because I'm going to manipulate your brain. Okay, so here's my sales pitch. I agree with you. I am for birthright citizenship, but I think there should be some exceptions and carve-outs to the rule. It's exceptions to the rule. Number one, I don't think embassy people should automatically get birthright citizenship for their kids, or visitors who have no desire to live here. They just are visiting at Disney and then they have a kid, or people on sabbatical, that sort of thing. I don't think students who are here temporarily have no desire to live in the United States. They're just here for an education, and if they procreate, they shouldn't have kids. And I don't think illegal aliens who come across the border and have kids should automatically have citizenship. So I'm for birthright citizenship with a bunch of exceptions. What do you think?
I could agree to some of those exceptions. I think there's other ones like, I think if like, let's say you've been here for 6-7 years doing your education and you have a child here. I think I'd be more okay with that. I think some of those are more cut and dry. Like if someone just walks across the border and has a child, I'm not like, you could win me over on some of those, not all those. And that's just my personal position.
Okay, so this is good. So basically the whole idea of birthright citizenship as a default really doesn't mean much. It's basically how you implement it, or maybe this is the best way to say it. It shouldn't be a blanket just because you're born here means you're a citizen.
To me, my position is if you're here legally, like let's say you've been doing education here for 6, 7, 8 years and you're here legally, I think you can then have a legal child in the United States, in my opinion, because you're here legally, and then your child would be a legal citizen if born in the United States. I think that's one of the ones I would.
Yeah, that one I can be swayed on too as well. But I think there's some clear cases, like the Japanese couple who are here for 4 days to visit Disney World, and the woman is pregnant, but she has a baby 3 months premature, or whatever. Like seriously, automatically citizenship for that baby? But it's a baby.
Okay, so I might agree with you on that one. Let's say there's a couple that got sponsored here to do engineering at Amazon, and they're here for 5-6 years, and they have a baby on year 5.
Yeah, that's a tougher one because there's a higher likelihood that they might remain in this country, be taxpayers in this country if the person gets a job in this country after their education.
See, I think, and that's what I wish more people would talk about, because I know I'm a liberal, but I do think, personal opinion, of course, that it's a little bit ludicrous that someone could just, like you said, take a trip to the United States, fly over here while pregnant or something, have the baby, and then it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, but the main one, the one that happens the most, I think, are illegal aliens having kids.
I do not know the numbers, but I'd be for a system that allows people who are here legally and are doing things in America. If you are here, you're a student, you're working at a company, and you have a child, I think we should then grant that child citizenship.
Is there any nurses who live in a southern state here in my live stream chat? Because they will testify to you that in the maternity ward, if you were to come to Arizona and I take you through a typical hospital in the maternity ward, I would say only 20% of the time would you hear English being spoken.
Well, this problem, to really get at the root of it, the number one thing is employment. Because if we just went after the employers, and every employer who is improperly filing their workers and doesn't have people on record with real social security numbers who are actually here in the United States and working with proper documentation. And I will say this, there's a lot of people who are abused by employers who have come over here to the United States to do work, because they'll do work and not get paid properly, not get benefits.
Mm-hmm.
And they're also paying into Social Security because the employer has to pay the Social Security for what supposedly people are doing.
Mm-hmm.
But I really think we clean up this problem by cleaning up the employment issues, but no one wants to go after the employers.
Okay, so we kind of left the birthright citizenship.
I brought you tangent.
Yeah, so we kind of agree and disagree. That's fine. So on the immigration, are you happy with what Trump's doing? Like, he kind of sealed up the border pretty tight.
Well, I don't think he's really sealed up the border. Obama was deporter in chief.
No, we're talking about people coming in, not sending people out. That's the topic right now. People coming in illegally, and that's at record lows.
I'd have to look at the numbers. So I'm going to plead ignorance right now.
Okay, can I show you the numbers?
Sure. I'll look at your screen.
Okay. So what my goal here is to get you to say that Trump has done a wonderful thing, and I'm going to manipulate your emotions and your intellect to do so.
I'm on cbp.gov.
Yes. Now go to March 1st.
Yeah,
oh no, sorry.
They've only got Feb.
Yeah, if they have like reports, go to March 1st, but they only show February there.
Well, it was declining. If you look at, you might have the graphic up too, but it was declining at the end of 2024. It had a sharp increase at the start of 2024, huge, wow, 300,000, and it had gone down to a third, and it's also decreased a lot. So really, so what's currently going on in the last month is a sharp decrease, but before that, it was pretty much same Biden levels for the January month, but I mean, that was partially Biden. So we'll continue to see what's going on, but I don't want to branch topics on you. You ask more questions if you want.
Yeah, so let me show you from the CBP from March 1st. Basically, in the month of February, only 8,200 and some crossed illegally, and they caught them, but they still crossed illegally. And so those are the numbers, it's called illegal encounters. And that number has never been hit before in the history of recording numbers.
I'd have to. This only has surely we have data before 2022. Like this, the graphic I'm only looking at right here. But even in October, we have articles on sharp decline in encounters. So we've been seeing declines in encounters. Actually, now I'm on Pew Research, and there was a spike during the Biden years, but in August 24, it dropped to around Trump times. Also, Trump had a huge spike in May 2019.
Okay, I know your goal is to sort of say, well, Trump might be doing okay, but Biden was doing pretty good too. But read this; it's on the screen.
So this is Christy Nome. February was the lowest month in recorded history for encounters at our border. The world is hearing our message. Do not come to our country illegally. If you do, we'll find you, arrest you.
But look at this number here: 8,326. Now, you had the website open and you saw numbers like 50,000, 70,000, 90,000. And then in the year 2022, 23, it was like 200,000. Now we're down to under 10,000 a month.
I think so. Well, one, you're trying to help me fix a problem.
I'm trying to get you to say that Trump did something good there.
But I don't think of this as much of a problem as you do. That's why I can't say it's a good thing.
Is illegal immigration a problem?
Yes.
Okay. Is that problem decreasing in February?
This is a multifaceted issue. That's why I'm.
No, it's very simple. See, this is logic. So if you admit,
if you have one objective in this, there's multiple objectives.
Sure. We can talk about the other objectives later. But so if
by your one objective, this is good. Your one objective.
Okay. So it is good to decrease.
By one objective.
It is okay. It is good to decrease illegal immigration. The Trump administration has dropped illegal immigration to record low levels. Therefore, the Trump administration has done something good.
So wait, no. Don't play music again. Here we go. Let me explain. Not again. Here's the thing. It's good to save lives. Dr. Acula took everyone's blood and redistributed it and saved a bunch of lives. He did a good thing. So you're just looking by one metric. There's other metrics.
If you give me that metric, we'll move on to a new one. I just need you to bow your knee to Trump and say, because you yourself admitted that illegal immigration is bad. It's a problem.
How is legal immigration doing? What is our unemployment
Okay, so
rate?
you want to move on to other things.
Well, no,
That's fine.
Yeah. So I want to know if we are currently, because as a country, we need workers in our country, because as you know, you can't have an elderly society. You understand that, right?
Yeah. Good. Somebody has to change the diapers.
Exactly. So we actually need people in this country changing tires, doing all different things. Like, you get too old, you can't change your own tires. So they tell me. So with all these things that we need done, we need a strong, capable workforce. So that's why if people wanted to come to our country and work, let's say we had 80,000 hardworking people saying, I'm going to come to America. Let me just ask you this, Doug. If we had 80,000 people who were good people who we could vet and make sure they're not criminals, they're here coming to do good things, and we could vet them and bring them into America, and they could start producing, we could increase our GDP, would you be in favor of bringing in those 80,000 people to have them be part of our economy?
Only if they're not taking American jobs. But yes.
Well, okay, good. So like you said, it's multifaceted. There's more things to it, right? So that's my issue, is that we have benefited so much from all the people who have come from Mexico. They've contributed so much to our economy and so much to our nation. I know, my bleeding heart liberal, right, Doug? But we've had a lot of success in America thanks to immigration. We're a country built upon immigration.
Hey,
Doug,
you don't have to say this to me. I live in
we got
Arizona.
you, Doug. We stole you from Canada.
Yeah. You got a great deal on me. But I live in Arizona, and I see with my own eyes every day the value that people who are from Mexico bring to the state. And so, yeah, I don't disagree with you there. But my main thing is they have to come in legally, orderly. There has to be a process. We have to know who they are, make sure they're not crooks and criminals, make sure they're not part of the cartel, all these bad things, make sure they're healthy.
You have a background in chemistry, right, Doug?
Yeah.
Okay, and then you do the accounting stuff now.
Finance. Don't insult me.
I'm sorry.
With accounting. Accountants look at numbers and go back into the past. Finance people look at numbers and go to the future.
Do you go 88 miles per hour to the future?
That's why finance is a better, more secure job, because it's art and science, because sometimes you got to make assumptions, and you got to be creative and look at various scenarios. But accounting people, all they do is they just look at the past, and that's all they care about.
I can't send you my W-2.
Well, I could, and then I would run it through TurboTax for you.
Well, okay. So my point is, what I believe is that we need people in America producing. And I would be so proud if Trump said, I have worked out the immigration issue such that we are bringing in immigrants from Mexico, and we're getting, people who want to work here. They're great people, because tons of great people in Mexico, tons of great people around the world that we'd be glad to have here in America.
Sure.
And I wish we didn't have this sort of discord relationship with a lot of countries right now, because I am worried about.
You're preaching to the choir.
Yeah. There you go.
So, but let's talk about what we might disagree on. Do you give jobs? You got a job opening.
Got it.
2 people want it, and only 2. One's an immigrant, and one is a potential immigrant, like they're filing to have this job from a foreign country, and one is an American citizen. Who do you give the job to?
I'm the employer.
Yep.
Well, as the employer, I
all
think
else equal.
All else is equal. And am I going to have to sponsor them if they're going to be the employee at the company?
All else equal means whatever costs that for the immigrant, it ends up being equal.
Well, the problem is, if you say all else equal, I'm just going to flip a coin then.
Okay, see, that's the problem. Here's a disagreement. So, because the disagreement between us now is, if you would flip a coin, what you're really saying is you don't really care between an American and a non-American. And
you're right. And let me tell you why. Because the amazing thing about an American is that we're a melting pot nation, and anyone can become an American. So that is what I truly think.
Okay. See, and I think I am more of an American first type guy.
Well, but I'm American first, as in they get to be an American. That's like outreach. That's American outreach right there. That is the greatest. We're pulling people into America.
Okay, but then if your point is because they can become an American,
yeah.
So you're saying it's better to be an American?
It's better to have more Americans. Like imagine if everyone was on Team America.
Okay. And are you for taking care of Americans? You're a bleeding heart, of course, right?
Yeah,
okay.
of course.
So let me ask the question again. You have an American and a non-American for the same job. Who gets it? All else equal. Knowing that you like to take care of Americans.
Well, but you don't get it. Like when you have the job in America, and if a company is sponsoring you, then you can become an American, and then we're taking care of an American.
You can only choose one in this hypothetical. You either choose the American or the non-American. Who do you choose?
Wait, you said you think to the future. Wait, Doug. You said you think to the future, right? You said you think to the future. Am I correct?
Yeah.
Okay,
Go ahead. You try to get me.
This non-American gets to become an American. So I am thinking about an American, just a future American.
Do you think? Okay, so I'm hearing a non-answer to my hypothetical. Yes. So you refuse to answer that question. Actually, no. You did. You said coin flip. You said coin flip.
No. I didn't say coin flip though. I revised it. I said non-American. I'm choosing the non-American.
Okay, you choose. So if let me get this straight. I want to repeat back to you what you've said. So I'm demonstrating that I'm hearing you. Okay. What I'm hearing you say is that there's a job opening, and let's say it's me who's trying to get this job, and I'm a U.S. citizen, and I really need the job to feed my family.
Okay.
And this other person who wants this job is from I don't know, Sweden, and he has the same number of kids as me, and he needs to feed his family. Okay. And it can only go to either me or the Swedish person, not both. You're saying you would give it to the Swede and let my family go hungry?
You sound so sad, Doug.
I'm trying to appeal to your sense of compassion.
So here's the thing. Let me explain why I'd give it to the Swede. The answer is I'd give it to the Swede because the Swede gets to become an American. And with one more American to help out, we might be able to feed one more Doug.
Ah, I see.
Now we might be able to help two Americans. That Swede will never have the chance to.
Why couldn't I help two Americans?
Well, you can go apply for another job. Ba. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, brother.
I like just getting you to laugh.
I'm just trying to understand what is the real difference between you and me on that question, because that's a fundamental question.
Well, there's an inherent problem in the question because it's never exactly equal, right? It's never exact. I realize it's a hypothetical, but it's never exactly equal.
But why do you hate Americans so much?
Here's the truth, though. In most instances, it'll be cheaper to hire the American. So there usually will be preference given to Americans. Does that make sense? In most instances, for most companies, the opportunity cost is cheaper to hire Americans. So if I was running a company, I'd probably be hiring a lot of Americans because it's going to cost a lot more to.
Okay. This is good.
But when you say all else equal, you create a hypothetical in which it's a very nuanced situation.
Okay, so would you prefer then, let's get rid of the all else equal and make it more realistic. Same situation, two people, one foreigner, one American. The foreigner doesn't speak English. Who you hire? And you speak English. You're the boss.
What job is this?
It doesn't matter the job.
If they have to speak English, it'll definitely matter.
Whether you speak a little English or a lot of English, you still got to communicate with them once in a while.
It depends. There's a lot of jobs.
See, you brought up this argument. Yeah, now you're even pushing back on that. Isn't it? It's rhetorical. The answer is you pick the English guy if you're the English boss.
Have you ever worked in the restaurant industry?
Directly, no.
There are a lot of individuals that I've worked with who do amazing work and don't really speak much English. So I can say that it really would depend. Doug, I'm trying to clear you up. It really depends on what job we're talking about and what the qualifications are.
Okay.
Probably in most instances,
Okay,
I pick the English speaker.
This
Most
is like the
instances.
flying man. I'm adding things in one at a time. So in this hypothetical, it was just foreigner versus American. Now it's foreigner American. One speaks, and now the American speaks English and the foreigner doesn't. And you speak English. Most of the country speaks English. And so now I'm layering things in. Who do you pick?
Lean.
All else equal besides now those two things.
Lean English speaker. Lean English. There's other things, but there's various other things, but lean English speaker.
Okay, now if I keep adding on things, you're going to probably say lean lean American, I bet.
Maybe.
Because you admitted things like it's tougher to, the paperwork or the visas, all that stuff. So if it's all else equal and you still have to pay them, $20 an hour, whatever the wage is, then yeah, you have to do less work just by hiring an American. So you're going to say lean American, lean American, lean American.
We see, and
which is the same thing saying as American first.
So here's what I wish Trump would do.
Okay.
I think Trump is too afraid to go after businesses. I think he's too afraid to go after these companies and say, if you've been hiring people illegally and paying people under the table, we will utterly gut your business. You have until the end of this month to report all your illegal hirings and tell us about it and how much you've been paying them.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I kind of agree with you there. However, I think what Trump's philosophy is that if you stop illegal immigration and you start the process of deportation, then the rest will take care of itself. And Trump is actually very tough on businessmen and business leaders, very tough, if they're not American. Look what he's doing to other countries of the world through tariffs. He's willing to threaten them, manipulate them, bully them. He has no problem going after business types, but he's very much America first, and I like that.
Have you heard from farmers lately and their thoughts on all the tariffs and how they can't get their, farming? Well, a lot of our exports with farming, especially with grain, and I think we have fertilizer to Canada, and there's a lot of problems right now where they're sending it back and refusing to sell it or refusing to take it. And we really
will there be short-term pain? Yes.
Doug, that's a talking point. Come on, don't
let the farmers cry. I don't care.
Okay. So here's the thing. What if we said during Biden, hey, look, this is just 4 years of short-term pain. Those egg prices, there's pain. There's pain.
Yeah. Yeah. And now finally the egg prices are coming down. All you had to do is get a new president. Biden was saying, just wait, this is just short term. Eventually I'll be out of power and Trump will be in and everything will be better.
And I'll throw you I'll leave after this, but I'll give you one thing you'll like that we will agree on.
What's that?
I am ashamed of the Democrats and how they handled Biden's senility. It was ever apparent and it became just outrageously horrible. And the fact that they denied it, I'm also unhappy that we didn't do a primary.
Yeah.
I was unhappy back then. I'm unhappy now.
The party of democracy didn't even vote in Harris.
Well, if you noticed in 2016 when Bernie ran, the DNC took it to court, or they were taken to court, and they said, we can select whoever we want. And that was a self-fulfilling prophecy because in 2024, you're writing it down.
No, I got a big issue with Bernie Sanders.
Oh,
and I know you like him.
Yeah.
So I want you to defend him before you go.
Okay, defend Bernie.
He keeps using this rhetoric that the evil Republicans are going to take away Social Security.
They might.
Okay.
They might cut it.
Now, I would love, if Bernie Sanders were here with me in this room, I would say, okay, you're talking future tense, yes? And you would say, well, yeah.
Doug, what are you talking about? I can't do it. We're not gonna.
He's basically fear-mongering. He's telling his base and the people who are weak intellectually that this could happen and this is really bad.
We have to make another bet now because we already have an abortion bet. So now we have to make another bet.
Do you owe me money on Harris winning? I think you do.
No, I didn't bet on. Did I bet on Harris winning?
I think you owe me $100.
No, we bet on abortion rights. I don't think we bet on Harris winning because I probably wouldn't have bet on that.
Because I was watching some of my old videos and I found Sean, a guy who used to always call in, and now he's dropped off the face of the earth for $100. I haven't seen him on Discord or my channel since.
I wouldn't have bet you.
Sean, you owe me $100. Pay me my money.
I would not have bet you $100 on that. I would have asked at least like 3 times on the money. I would have bet you 100 with 3 times odds, but I would have.
Oh, you thought Trump was going to win like 3-1?
I really thought it was 50-50 if you looked at all the predictions that were out there. I know.
Well, if you thought it was even money, then of course you'll take 3-1.
Yeah, but I'm not a betting type person other than poker. So I prefer games of skill, not games of chance. Not a coin.
Getting back to Bernie Sanders, like whenever you hear that type of rhetoric from Bernie, I want you to have this disgust feeling. Like, Bernie, what are you doing? So far, there's zero evidence that an old person is going to receive less Social Security in the future than they are now. There's zero evidence of that. Will Social Security funding go down? Yes. But that's because we got so many fat, bloated bureaucracy types in there. If we can run Social Security, like the bureaucracy of it, the administration of it, more efficiently and with less people, that could actually lower the budget of Social Security. But all the old people still get the same amount of money. That's what Bernie's missing. He's an idiot. He is an idiot, or he's brilliant and evil.
So is he saying they're trying to gut Social Security or they're trying to end Social Security? Which one is he making a strong?
I think he used the word gut. Yeah.
Gut.
Yeah.
Well, can we consider gut that there is a 50% dip in benefits to people?
Yes.
Like I would. Okay.
Yes.
So we'll have another bet here. Once again, I'll join your poker game. If by the end of Trump's term, Social Security.
Oh yeah.
I don't know.
I like this bet. Keep going.
Well, I might disagree with Bernie here. Like, Trump's going to get, like, Republicans are going to hate him because there's a lot of old white people.
Oh, please, you were about to say if it goes down 50%, I'll bet you on that. I'll bet you all day long on that one. You want to bet that? By the end of Trump's administration, the average Social Security check drops by 50%. I'll even give you 2-1 odds.
Inflation adjusted.
Sure, but if you're saying a 50% drop, inflation adjustment's not going to matter much.
Yeah, it'd be like a 57%.
In fact, I'm willing to bet you that it won't drop a penny.
Oh, duh. I'll take that bet.
Okay, but in order for you to win that bet, you have to show me evidence of someone making actually less Social Security because of what Trump did.
Okay.
Let's say in 2026 compared to 2022 or something like that.
My taxes have gone up because of Trump.
Oh, come on. Okay, you can't say something like that and then threaten to leave. No, okay. Your taxes have gone up because of Trump?
Yeah, he came and took my money. I'm kidding. But no, the policies in which Trump, a lot of the tax cuts Trump put in place had a sunset law, I think they're called, or basically they went away. Trump put in some temporary tax cuts that went out to middle-class people, and then they've gone away now. So now the tax cuts that are in place still are the ones for people who are doing like capital gains and things like that, which I don't got that much of.
So what you're saying is you want Trump to give you another tax cut?
Well, I think if we give tax cuts, I think they should predominantly be going to people who have to spend their money. Because let's say you give tax cuts to people who are poor, they're going to spend their money.
Right.
You give tax cuts to people who are rich, well, they might create jobs or things, but rich people don't have to spend their money. Poor people, by virtue of surviving, have to spend their money.
Okay, so let me get this straight. You want society to dictate what people can do with their money?
No, that's not it.
No, that's exactly what you just said. You're saying we need to tax the rich more because they don't have to spend all their money, and so that means we got to assume they won't spend it well. We won't assume that they won't add anything to the economy. So we will dictate as society. No, you don't know what's best with your money. Well, we're going to take more of your money for the treasury, and then we will decide how that money's being spent. That's what you're saying.
We will decide. We have to build roads. We have to pay police. We have to pay firemen. We have to.
The roads are being built with gas taxes.
Are they?
Yes.
You have to maintain it. Well, who's chopping down the trees next to the road when they hit the power lines?
The construction workers. They're the ones chopping down the trees.
Just
I think anything associated with roads and interstates is paid through the 10% gas tax every time you fill up your car.
Well, let me ask you this, Doug. Do you do taxes?
Yes.
Okay. So I might be hurting your job right here because
No. Not for other people.
Okay, not for, yeah.
But I do my own taxes, my kids' taxes. Yeah.
So I don't think any of us should be doing taxes, because why can't the government just create a sliding scale of taxes to where the poorest people are taxed at 10%, and then the next poorest people get taxed at like 10.1%? Just hear me out on this. Hear me out. Because why is there tax brackets? Why don't they just calculate based on how much you make on a sliding scale, and then they just take that money, and at the end of the year, they could just send you a bill?
Because it's easier to do brackets than, like, what you're saying basically is like a spectrum of brackets.
Yeah, it's just all complete spectrum.
Okay, but what's the spectrum? What is, you're just going to go up by 0.1 for every how many, like? What's the algorithm?
You don't even do 0.1. You just put it into a computer, which can have infinite decimals between. And then at the end of the year, you'd see like your marginal tax rate based on how much you made.
What should the tax rate be for someone making $50,000 a year?
50,000. What's that right now? Like 20, 25?
No, 12.
12? I don't know. Sorry, Doug.
My goodness. 12% is all they pay. Oh, by the way, a quick aside, the Doge credits of $5,000 might happen. And so anybody listening there, if you have friends or family who don't make any money, or they make money but not quite enough, I'm telling you, I'm going to make you $5,000 right now. So listen closely. If you know anybody who currently doesn't pay net tax, in other words, they pay into the tax, but they always get a refund bigger than the tax they pay in, they need to calculate that. They need to look at their return very carefully this year. And if they're in a situation where they're not paying any tax and they actually get more back than they pay in, make it so that they pay at least $50 to $100 in tax this year. Call it miscellaneous. So if you have a son or daughter and you're listening right now, make sure they pay $50 in net tax, and that $50 is going to buy you $5,000, because that $5,000 Doge check, and we don't know for sure, but it's most likely going to be paid to people who paid into the system. And it doesn't matter how much they paid in the system, as long as they paid into the system. So make sure, if you have young kids in your family, if you have relatives who are right on that limit, usually if people making $40,000 a year or less, even if you have to call it miscellaneous income, and you pay them like $100 to sweep your steps or something, make sure you report that, just to get them over the edge so they can qualify for that $5,000 check in the future. You're welcome.
Doug, I love this socialism right here, because I'm going to pay in a couple thousands of dollars or whatever, and I think it's good that we just redistribute the money I pay in to other people through Doge to help them out, right?
Well, that's not happening.
You were so silent.
What's happening is they're taking 20% of the cost savings and they're passing it on to the consumer.
I think, back to my last point here, and then I'll head off probably on you. So thank you for your time. But why does everyone fight you? We disagree. It's whatever. But
why do people fight me?
Why do people get mad? I think you should be able to hear something you disagree with and just shrug.
Okay, I'll tell you why. I think you know the answer. Actually, what do you predict I'm going to say?
I think they're too emotionally invested in their own stances.
Yeah, and it's tribalism. Partly it's feel sorry for ism. Like just today, I was actually very nice to a person on X. I thought I made a couple good points, and I was respectful. Block. It's just like, you disagree with me? Block. Yeah. Some people just can't take. They have in their. It's so funny because on X I took out the part that says I'm an atheist, and so then when I talk to people about politics and I tell them I'm a right-leaning person, they automatically have these assumptions of me. Well, you believe the Earth is 6,000 years old. I had a guy just tell me that. Oh, you're Republican, you believe the Earth is 6,000 years old. I said, no, I don't. You're against the measles vaccine. No, I'm not. It's just assumption after assumption. Rather than just asking me, they just assume all these things. They probably think I'm a Christian. I'm not. I'm an atheist. And it's just so much fun in a way to just see people be wrong again and again and again and make these assumptions.
I think we are very similar, Doug, because I don't know. I might be your son, Doug. Keep going. Well, my point. Go ahead.
You think I'm that old? You're in your 30s, right?
Dude, I'll be 30 soon, but close to. But I think
I want to talk to your dad. Because you told me that you convinced your dad to vote for Harris.
Yeah, I did.
I'm going to take him back.
Really? What would you? Okay. Last topic here. What are you going to say to him? Doug, this is Adam's dad.
I'm going to say, hey, you did a great job raising your son. Seriously, you did a good job. He's a good boy. But don't feel sorry for him. I mean, come on. You know what's best for society because you've been around. You're an older man. How old is he? 55?
Close to 60.
Close to 60. Okay, so he's older than me. I said, you've been around. You know that Trump's doing the best thing for immigration. You know all that critical theory stuff is crap. Come on, between two old men, you know that. You know men are men, women are women, right? And and he's going to go, yeah, but my boy, he's such a good boy. And I don't want to hurt his feelings.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. You could convince him. You never know. I always tell people to listen to others. It's what the Bible says. It's in James 1:19 that we should be quick to listen and slow to speak.
I appreciate you saying that because there's a lot of things in the Bible that I agree with. I don't think it's from God, but I think it's just humans looking at the world around them and coming to conclusions about the world around them. And a lot of those conclusions, I think they were right. And I'm starting, the older I get and the more I'm on social media, the more I'm hating atheists.
Well,
like I'd say a third of atheists are okay, but 2/3 of atheists, especially the online ones, are just horrendous people.
Yeah. And that's unfortunately what the world sees of atheism then. They don't see myself and yourself, you being right-leaning, me being left-leaning, but we can have a conversation. I do think some of your views, I'll say it again, are not good for society, but you think some of my views are not good for society, so it's okay.
Yeah, we can, reasonable people, smart people, even dumb people, we can all disagree. Just give your reasons, be polite, hear each other out. And then when it comes every 2 years and every 4 years, you vote your conscience and what you think is the best way forwards, and that's that.
Well, now that we're all smiles and rainbows, Doug, I'll let you go, but have a great evening.
You too. Thanks for calling in.
Thanks.
Doug, have you ever tried talking to Aaron Ra? Yeah, I have talked to Aaron Ra in the past. I think it was 5 years ago. It was all theism type stuff, though. How's my volume, by the way? Did I fix the problem? Yes, my new extension I got fixed the problem. Good. What denomination of atheist are you? Yeah, Calvinist. Calvinist atheist. No one who understands how Social Security works supports Social Security. Sadly, people are sheep. Well, yeah, it has become a Ponzi scheme. Like when the left hears even that language used, they just freak out. Or some of them do, of course. Always some, not all. Also, if you are getting huge tax refunds, you're doing your taxes wrong and giving the government free loans. Absolutely correct. Your goal actually should be to pay a $100 to $200 tax penalty every year. Because that's guaranteeing that you're keeping a little bit of your money more so than you need to. Seriously, I pay $100 to $200 tax penalty every year for the last, I don't know how many years. That assures me that I am not giving them that money for free. I'd rather pay that little penalty. Spectrum taxology. Yeah, that's what he was advocating for. Can we agree that you have a reason to be opposed to spending on Social Security? No, we can't agree on that. Social Security is supposedly a guarantee that if you pay in, you'll get your money back. It's an entitlement. It's a different type of tax, Social Security and Medicare. It's a different type of tax than, let's say, just regular income tax, sales tax. It's in a different, separate bucket. So when people on the left hear about cutting to Social Security, in their mind, they think grandpa gets less money then. But it can be true that Social Security payments to old people can remain the same or even go up, and you can still cut Social Security, funding to Social Security. How is that possible, Doug? What you're saying makes no sense. Yeah, it does. It's called bureaucracy. If you can make the system more efficient and get rid of bureaucracy, you can actually cut funding to that Social Security box and still keep payments equal to increasing to its recipients. Now, there's a limit to that, of course. You can't like slash it 50% or maybe even 20%, but you can cut it 5%. I'm sure there's 5% of waste in Social Security. Oh, and then fraud. If you think, oh, there's no way that there's 5% fraud in Social Security, that everybody who gets Social Security deserves it, I mean, you're just so naive. In fact, let's say there's 10% fraud in Social Security, and we find it and get rid of it. You could actually view that as a cut. So the amount of Social Security being paid out goes down, but everybody still gets the same benefits. I wish people were smarter. I'm going to tell my 25-year-old and 21-year-old about your tax plan. Sounds great. No, Bill Shirk, I'm not, like, of course, it's not for sure that the Doge $5,000 payment is going to happen. But if it does, my guess is, if you don't pay into income tax, you won't be eligible for it. So make sure all your kids at least pay $100 in income tax this year. And you got 1 month to figure out how to do that. So if your parents have to pay you $500 to mow the lawn, then do it. So it gets you at $100 tax payment. This is what's happening to my son right now. He's right on the edge. So I'm going to make sure that he has a little bit more income, declares more income to pay tax. And I bet you, I hope I'm right, because I'll feel like a genius if I'm right, that by paying in $100 this year for tax season 2024, that could translate into $5,000. Is that gaming the system? Maybe, but if their criteria is all you have to do is pay in tax in, then do it. We should phase out Social Security over 15 years and transition to a system where individuals keep the money they put in. Or I think at least put 20% of Social Security into the stock market and in an index. That alone could save Social Security. Anybody else want to call in? Do it quickly. Room's open. Click on the link above. Doug, I love how that caller said, when you take out all the nuances, you're making the question too nuanced. Aaron Raw got massive TDS, many wild Trump predictions. Says PGRO. So Social Security should be tied to the gold in Fort Knox. Maybe our dollar should be tied to that. Doug, I tagged you on Twitter a short YouTube short of Dems advocating. Yeah, I made a video on that, Roger. Yeah, this is the thing. What Elon Musk is doing is no different than things that Obama advocated for, Clinton advocated for. Let me see if I can find that short. So this is not AI. This is not AI. What I did was I just basically put, well, you'll see.
What should be easy. Everyone knows that getting rid of the deficit will require some tough decisions, cutting back on billions of dollars in programs that a lot of people care about. What should be easy is getting rid of the pointless waste and stupid spending that doesn't benefit anybody. Waste we should be getting rid of even if we didn't have a deficit. What should be easy is getting rid of the pointless waste and stupid spending that doesn't benefit anybody. Waste we should be getting rid of even if we didn't have a deficit. Did you know the federal government pays for a website devoted to a folk music ensemble? I'll put their music on my iPod, but I'm not paying for their website. We need to step up our game. We need to go after every dime. We need to make government work for you.
Yeah, doesn't he sound like Elon Musk there? Giving examples of wasteful spending. We need to go after every dime. You should hope less people claim that Doge check because the leftover will go to paying off the national debt. Well, I think the plan right now that Elon said is do an 80-20 split. So I don't see actually how they can get to 5,000 though per taxpayer. 40% of people in this country basically pay no tax. Then probably another 40% pay maybe under $5,000 a year. Like I paid $30,000. I just did my taxes and I paid $30,000 federal income tax. And there's people who pay millions of dollars in federal income tax. Like we deserve the $5,000 check. But, you know, does my son who paid in $100, does he really deserve it? No. But if that's the criteria, then we're going to do it. But according to my liberal friend, he says rich people shouldn't really deserve to keep their own money because they don't spend all of it. This is another thing that drives me crazy. They have this idea in their head that because poor people will spend their discretionary income, they don't have any, so they spend all their money. That's true, but this idea that rich people hide their money in their mattress, like even I have quite a bit of cash right now, even that's being like in money market funds. Like it's still considered cash, but I can get to it in seconds if I need to, or maybe a day. So it's basically cash. It's very liquid. And that helps the economy. And of course, if you're investing into the S&P 500, you're helping the company's capital to borrow and invest. Greetings, my Pentecostal friend. Like one of my presuppositions is that in general, human beings know what to do with their money better than the government does. And if you lean right, that's very easy for you to agree with. If you lean left, you'd say no, especially with the rich people. They don't know what's best for society. They don't know what's best for themselves. We need to take it from them so we can do what's better and best. That's such an elitist attitude. It's such a... First of all, even if you're a billionaire, it's their money. If they've earned it the legal way, and a lot of stupid people on the left think that's impossible. You can't earn billions of dollars the legal way. But assuming they earn it the legal way, that is their money, not the government's, not society's. If a billionaire has $1 billion and it means 100 million people die of starvation, that's their choice to kill those people. That's how much of a property rights person I am. Now, of course, in the United States, that doesn't happen because we have a basic security net blanket. Working for a bank right now, if you have cash under your mattress, it's not so easy to bring your money back into the system. The bank will ask pesky questions. Well, that's why I actually prefer credit unions. But yeah, cash, I can foresee cash going away. You know, have you guys ever heard of the, oh, I better not say that. I could get in legal trouble. Never mind. I don't want to be sued. I was about to mention a specific company that I'm convinced exists through money laundering. You guys can guess what companies those are in the live stream chat. I'm not going to say it. But think of companies that have a ton of locations, big warehouses, and you see maybe 1 or 2 cars in the parking lot every day, and they never go away. They never go bankrupt. They pay huge rents for these locations, beautiful signage. I think of Walter White, Breaking Bad, every time I go by these locations. Let's see if anybody's guessed it. I was sad I missed your last. I wanted to talk about tariffs. No? Well, no. I won't say yes or no. Daniel, what do you want to talk about tariffs? I'll stop the music and let you in if you want to talk about tariffs. Just click on the link. We can do 5 minutes, 10 minutes. $5K per household, no? Actually, no. Jacob Smith, I actually think it's per taxpayer. I could be wrong on that. I think it's not finalized or anything, so it could be $5,000 per household. It's probably going to be depending on how you file. If you file married jointly, then maybe it's $5,000. But it potentially could be $5,000 per taxpayer who pays into the system. Okay, another caller here. Hey, Daniel.
Hey, Doug.
Yeah, you want to... Good, thanks. You want to talk about tariffs?
Yep.
Okay.
What do you think about tariffs now?
I like them.
Okay, what do you think about what do you think about like Milton Friedman?
I like him.
Like he would be against it, right?
Not necessarily, no.
You sure?
No.
You're not sure?
No.
I'm not sure. That's why I'm asking.
Yeah. As far as I know, I think Milton Friedman would probably acknowledge that there's cases where, because of unfair practices of other countries, that fair trade is not always the best thing.
Yeah. Okay.
Sorry, not fair trade. Fair. I said free trade is not always the best thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. And I agree with. I think he said that, and if he did, I agree with him. That free trade is not always fair.
Is mostly fair. Like it's more fair than not. Like he would be opposed to certain things.
Yeah. So
he was opposed to specific things on steel even.
So if a country is using slaves to make steel, then do you really want free trade in that situation?
Isn't that already?
So as a society might say, we can't compete with slave labor, therefore we're going to put a tariff on you and to make it more competitive. Plus you punish them for having slaves.
Isn't it pretty unpopular
Tariffs?
Isn't this like the thing that most people who voted for Trump would be the thing that their number one sort of disappointment?
I'm not sure on the polling on that. I know personally I love it.
You don't think that that would be the number one thing that would stand out as like the
Negative?
you had to take a poll?
I don't know. I actually don't know.
Lean? Which way do you lean?
I don't know, but I'm just telling you, from me personally,
All right, so
yeah, I'm okay with it.
Do you? I think that a lot of Trumpers, like yourself, I think that you're doing like apologetics the same way that Christians do for the Bible.
You're right.
Where something happens in the Bible and they find a way to support it, and it's like, oh, well, Trump's doing this thing, so we're gonna find a way to support it instead of just taking each thing individually. Am I wrong?
Well, depends. You're partially right, partially wrong. Like, for example, I don't have a blanket disdain for apologetics. So apologetics, you can be an apologist for Trump, you can be an apologist for God, you can be an apologist for hockey, you can be an apologist for anything. It's just defending a certain position. So I disagree with you if you're just coming from the point of view that all apologetics is bad. I disagree with you if that's what you're saying. If you're saying that, like, even there's some Christian apologetics that I agree with. Like, for example, if an apologist says that that scripturally this is the best interpretation, or this is what scripture means, and they make an apologetic for it, they defend it, and I happen to agree with it, like scripturally. I can say, oh, the scripture has nothing to do with God or whatever, but based on what I think the scripture is saying, I agree with this apologist. I've actually done that with Roman Catholics. I think the Roman Catholics got communion right.
But what they're doing is they're assuming that they're correct and then just finding a way to make that.
Yeah, if that's what they're doing, then I disagree with that.
I think that's what you're doing. I think specifically, just to make it so.
Can you give me an example?
Disagreement here. Well, on this tariffs thing, I don't think that you could think. I don't think that you think it's like a better strategy.
Okay, hang on. A better strategy means there's something it compares to. What are we comparing tariffs to?
Well, in this scenario, I think we would just be comparing tariffs to either to not.
Okay,
I guess, okay, maybe I'm wrong, but from my perspective, it's like I saw the short where it's like day one Trump just starts launching this trade war, this is where I'm coming from. Is Milton Friedman would specifically say that is exactly what tariffs will lead to, is a trade war which hurts both economies, and he was more for like the economy, he's more for like the every person.
Okay,
so that's why I'm thinking.
Do you know my stance on tariffs?
Well, I think I do. It's you want to bring all the companies and all the business home so that you're producing in America.
Well, I wouldn't use the word all, no.
Okay, well, sure, I'm
yeah.
exaggerating.
So, okay, go on. So I want to bring...
You want to bring businesses back to America, and
yes.
You want money to stop flowing externally from America.
Yes, that you're correct.
Which I even earlier in this live, you said there was the analogy about the dentist, where the guy said you give the dentist money and you get a service.
Mm-hmm.
And you said no, that's equal trade. But on dollar value, it's not equal trade. You're getting a service. The service has a dollar value, but it's not something that is a dollar. So like, you're getting a service from your imports. You're getting something that you couldn't get from home. That's why it's
the argument that a lot of some people make is that, well, who cares about trade deficits because you're still getting value for your trade. That's the argument.
Yeah, like you're getting energy.
Yeah. But the reason why that argument's a bad argument is because when you actually calculate GDP, every year, the size of the economy and how it grows, trade deficit is a negative to GDP. This is just math.
Really, eh?
Yes. You're Canadian.
And you're a trader.
So I'm glad you're Canadian, because I had a live stream the other day where I was begging
No,
Canadians to
that's why I
come.
was saying I was sad I missed that.
Oh yeah, okay. So yeah, let's spend more than just 5 or 10 minutes on this now, because this is a very interesting topic to me. So are you? I think you understand my position. I do want jobs that are, let's say, in Canada, Mexico, and manufacturing plants to come to the United States. You're right. I do want that, and I do not want a trade deficit with Canada, Mexico, China. You're right. I do not want that. Now, do you disagree? Like, from the Canada's point of view, do you want a trade deficit?
Well, do I want a trade deficit?
Yeah.
No, I think I get that part of your
Okay,
point.
so you're
In
just
fact,
like me on
it's
that.
beneficial, and it's beneficial for us to have that
Right.
trade, what is the opposite of a deficit?
Surplus.
Okay, so trade surplus with the United States.
Okay, so this whole dentist argument now is just poofed away, because you just admitted to me that it's better to have a surplus than a deficit.
Yeah, like it's better, but isn't the reason why it happens in the first place is sort of like the natural way that we find more efficient ways of doing things. You're importing something, mainly, I think it's mainly energy that I think you're importing. And so that's something that's easier and more efficient to get from here.
I
do it because that's the more
and
economic thing to do.
Yeah, especially you're right. Especially if you go to an industry by industry basis, some industries, like just being closer to the raw materials, which in Canada's case, I think Ontario. Well, let's take electricity. Ontario has tons of water, and they have dams, and so they have access to that, and they can produce electricity very cheap because of the natural resources there. Yes, you're right. But the problem is that when you're looking at a country to country basis now, you got to take all the industries combined, and then ask just the question, is it a net flow out of our country or into our country? And you want to at least try to keep it close to par.
I agree with everything there. And
Okay.
I think that I want to just jump to the next thing, though, that says that even though I can agree with you that it's better to have a surplus, it takes government manipulation to actually force something that's less natural or easy for the economy to do. So what you're actually doing is you're restricting through this third party thing, this government thing.
Yeah, and that
I find that's also strange, because normally your side is more about, I say your side, I really should say like our side is more about less government intervention, so more freedom of economy.
Well, I am not a libertarian. I do think the government has a role.
I think that's where we're different.
Yeah. So, I am not a libertarian. I think the government can and should interfere in some cases. But you're right that, let's say, Canada's better at manufacturing or making a product or a service better than the United States, more efficiently than the United States. Your argument, what you're saying is, well, since they're better at it, why we should just have America just buy it?
It's not that they're better at it. It's just that the economy has decided that this is the more efficient route, and therefore
Yeah.
this goes. And what you're trying to do is put in
Yeah.
borders and boundaries to, no, you're not allowed to do this.
Yeah, and that's fine. And so you can keep the status quo and say, okay, you guys are better at doing this, so we're going to buy it from you. But what Trump is saying is, when we look at all the industries and combine them, it seems like is more money flowing out of the system than in. And Trump's theory is that, yes, you might be better at it now, but we could probably do it if we just had a tariff and kind of massage the economy to do these things.
So now back to, I think that where I misunderstood you last time is and even in this time, you're not saying all business. You're saying like maybe just nudge it. Is that sort of your point? Because you don't mean bring all business. You even said that earlier.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying
Nudge
that
it in this direction. Is that what you're?
I'm saying that the overall economies should be closer to par rather than a big deficit. So even from United States' point of view, the deficit we have with Canada, the trade deficit, it's minuscule.
When they do those, I thought that the deficit was basically zero when you consider energy.
No.
Like I thought it was almost par when you consider energy.
When you consider energy, if you don't consider energy, Canada has a surplus. I mean, United States has a surplus. If you remove,
I'll be honest with you, I'm getting confused with the surplus.
if you remove energy, since so much of the exports of Canada that Canada has is oil and gas. If you remove that from the system, actually, United States has a surplus with Canada because of all the intellectual property and services like Google and Microsoft supplies to Canada.
Yes. Yeah, so that's what I was saying. Is like I do get the feeling that you should cut out energy when you consider this.
Why?
Energy is a little. I don't know. Energy is a little different. Like I understand what you're saying about you could, but energy is like just I guess because it's a non-renewable resource. Maybe that's why I'm thinking it should be different.
But this is what the Canadians, I think, a lot of Canadians haven't come to terms with this.
Oh, I know.
And that is that they really have zero choice. They need to do exactly what Trump wants.
I'll give you something that, let me say this. I think that if Trump says jump, Canadians say, yes, sir, ally. I do agree with that.
Okay.
Yeah. And I think I get that position, and I definitely think that our country is not on the same page when it comes to that, our people. So yeah, I get that. But,
and this is how they have to do it. Number one, they need to remove.
I also disagree with the energy thing that we did, like the weird statement about cutting power off and things like that.
Long before Trump even came along, Canada tariffed the United States on many products, and they need to stop that. So
you're saying that Trump didn't start this. You're saying that Canada started this. That's what I'm hearing.
Right.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So, for example, milk, cheese, butter, yogurt, chicken, eggs, turkey.
Those are like food products. I think those things are okay to be tariffed because you're trying to support your.
Doesn't matter what you think. This is what Trump wants. Okay. So it doesn't matter one iota what any Canadian government official says or thinks, or what any Canadian citizen thinks or feels. Your feelings and emotions and desires are totally irrelevant. This is what Trump wants. That every tariff on milk, cheese, butter, yogurt, chicken, eggs, turkey goes away. And some of these tariffs are over 200%. On wheat, corn, barley seed, bovine, beef, pork, all those tariffs go away to 0%. Lumber, auto, steel, there's even still aluminum tariffs, clothing and some textiles is tariffed by Canada. All those need to go away. So Canada has no choice. They need to put those to zero or or hit recession within a year, and big recession, because 2% of Canada's surplus or GDP is this surplus to the United States. And so that's number one, what Canada has to do. Number two, whatever Trump says on immigration, like seal the border. If Trump says you need to build a border wall or put razor wire up, then they have to do it. Of course, the fentanyl thing and everything. And don't give me that it's only a small percentage. That percentage can still kill tens, if not.
Did you hear about what Pierre wants to do about that? He wants to make it, basically the equivalent of murdering people.
Yeah, that's a good idea. And Trump, I think, proposed that as well. That drug dealers get the death sentence. Yeah. So you need to pass this around to all your Canadian friends. Number one, get rid of all the tariffs against the United States.
The messaging is the opposite. It's like everyone here is doubling. It's like, all right, fine. Well, it's like the game of Risk. Where
okay, but they're stupid. They're absolutely stupid. If Canada thinks they can win a trade war with the United States, given that their economy, their GDP is 1/14, 2 to 28, 1/14 the size of the United States.
I think Canada right now thinks that it can band together to, hunker down, bunker up.
Band together with who?
Well, because the provinces aren't really as banded together as they could be. So there's this notion that's like, we just have to link arms better.
No, if Canadians actually think that, again, they're stupid. All you have to do, all you have to do is ask a Canadian, what's your GDP in Canada? I don't know how many Canadians know it.
I don't know what it is, but
it's $2 trillion.
50% per capita, I think is what it was.
It's
50%
$2 trillion.
of-
That's the total size of your economy in US dollars. And US dollars is 2 trillion, roughly, maybe 2.1. The United States is 28 trillion. Okay, the case closed at that moment, but I could go on. Then you ask what percentage of that GDP would be gone if the United States just decided, oh, we're
That's
not.
my point, though, is that they think that they can, if we band together, we can hunker down and sort of support each other.
Okay, yes, hunker down, support each other, and then Trump says no Canadian products will cross the border. Will that hurt the United States? Yes. Will that hurt Canada?
Yeah, that's why it won't happen.
20 times more?
Honestly,
Yes.
I find the hypothetical strange. Like, I just don't think that it matches like what would, because you have to think about all the other things.
Yeah. But there's a
So
multiplier
many
effect.
it's like if just this one thing. Yeah, but that just one thing can't happen. There's no way that it would work. It wouldn't happen.
Okay, yes, it's a hypothetical, and I agree with you. 99.9% chance it won't happen. But my point is that
I'm not trying to say that I can't engage in the hypothetical. I'm saying that as soon as you entertain that specific outcome, you have to then entertain, well, how does the American people respond to that kind of a thing? That's why it's like the hypothetical immediately breaks down, because actually what you're saying is that this happens and then all of these other things don't happen as well.
right, yeah, sure, there would be a lot of pain and suffering in America, and a lot of people who make whiskey or bourbon in Kentucky will be mad at Trump and all these things. And then you got the political stuff. But Trump could just go rogue. He could just say, I don't care what the American people think. They elected me, and I'm not going to be reelected anyhow. I'm going to burn this whole thing down. Trump could go that way. But ironically, I think it wouldn't burn down. And what it would very quickly force the hand. Like if I was Trump, I wouldn't bother with 25% tariffs. I would go straight to 250%. And then that would make the pain, it'd be like ripping the Band-Aid off fast and just saying, we're willing to not even trade with you at all. And we're willing for 50% of the Canadian workforce to go unemployed. And then you're going to have chaos in the streets. Do you want that? No. So this is what you're going to do. You're going to take off all the tariffs. You're going to make you're going to buy more American and make the trade surplus closer to zero for you, trade deficit closer to zero for us, and you're going to do whatever we say on immigration, and you're going to do it with a smile on your face, like that premier out of Ontario who acted so big and tough, like, oh, you're going to tariff us, we're going to cut off your electricity. Within under 24 hours, he changed his mind on that, and then I watched the CBC. They spun it as, oh, the Canada reached out to them and want to meet, and so that's why. No, he was clear. He said, if you retaliate on us, we're going to shut off your electricity to Minnesota, Michigan, New York. And then Trump escalated. And what did he do? He didn't shut off the electricity. Trump, he basically said, okay, we're not going to do it. We back down. And then the original tariff still remains. Like Canada ought to thank Trump for uniting them psychologically, because now they got this common enemy, and so now Canada feels like they have a sense of identity now. But they need to face reality. Same with Mexico. Same with even China. They need to realize that Trump is.
But they don't.
A lot of people
they think that it's like, okay, well, if we're provoked, then we have the moral high ground to.
Well, who cares about moral high ground? This is another thing that people don't get.
No. When I say this, though, I'm psychologizing these people for you. I understand that you don't see it that way, but that's the way that they think, and so you have to consider that's how they think, because that's what
no, actually, I don't.
That's how they're going to respond. They respond like this: oh, we've been attacked, therefore we have the. Maybe not moral high ground. It's the concept of when you're invaded or something, you can retaliate, right? It's the same thing that happened with Israel. It's like we can retaliate. We have this moral high ground, not moral high ground, but it's we're allowed to retaliate because you guys attacked.
Sure, they can retaliate. They can try, but they're going to lose.
You missed my point. I think what I'm saying is because that's the messaging. That's the way that they're thinking, and so that's the way that they're going to respond. So they will do it thinking that this is the right thing to do, or this is the thing we have to do, because we don't have a choice but to defend. You're saying this. You're saying Canada is actually sort of throwing punches at America, and we need to. Trump is finally saying, "Hey, stop. But the way it's messaged is that Trump threw the first punch, not Canada.
It's
This is the first time I'm hearing that Trump is responding to tariffs and not creating.
Oh yes, like he's responding to two things: tariffs.
I've been listening to this a lot.
He's responding to two things. Number one, that Canada has actually tariffed the United States for many, 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 many years. And point number two is that when they signed the free trade agreement in North America back in 2020, I think it was, that Trump had this in his head. Okay, this is going to be fair, I hope. Then 4 years went by and it got worse. Because some of the tariffs he was putting on with China was circumventing the whole system and sending stuff to Mexico, and then Mexico would put it together and then sell it to Canada. And so there was still a trade deficit. And so Trump's going, that didn't work. So he changed his mind. Trump changed his mind, saying, what I thought was great is now bad. And so now let me try this tariff thing. And if it doesn't work, that's the beauty of tariffs. You can turn it off and turn it on in a second. And so he's basically saying, I don't care what Canadians think. I don't care if they have the moral high ground. We're going to do this, and we're going to force Canada to get rid of all their tariffs on us. And number two, to do whatever we say on the border. And number three, to get rid of the deficit, the trade deficit. And he's doing the same thing with Mexico. He's doing the same thing with China. And he's doing it with Europe too. And the thing is, the United States is so big and powerful and so united, I think, that I think they will win against the world.
Okay, no, sorry, I thought you were going to say something else.
Yeah, I think if you could coordinate some type of strategy, the best hope Canada has is to partner with Mexico, China, Europe.
Well, that's what I don't like about this personally, is that what it means is that there's a stronger bond between Canada and China, which there already is.
Well,
and what this has done is it's actually sort of...
There's a trade war going on between China and Canada right now too. Yeah.
There is, but we're way more buddy-buddy with China than you guys are. And what this has done is...
I doubt that.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Seems pretty deep over here.
So I don't know, like, I part of me would love to go back to Canada right now and just...
You're not allowed.
And just, not allowed, I'm a Canadian citizen. They'd have to let me in. I would love to go in there and just talk as bluntly as this and just make Canadians feel bad about how powerless they are, because they are. They don't realize, yes, they think, but we can do this, we could cut off all our oil. Yeah, we'll buy from Saudi Arabia for 3 or 4 years until we get our own petroleum plants up here in the United States. We'll drill a little bit more. Yeah, it'll be painful, but we could devastate Canada. We could send Canada into a depression, not just a recession. We could have people dying on the streets from starvation if we wanted to. This is how much power we have over Canada.
It's just a strange way of thinking, I think.
I know, but it's almost like I have to use that language to get it through some people's thick skulls, just how lopsided it is.
I don't think it works.
You don't think it works?
No.
Well,
I think because it's...
I think the politicians, at least some politicians, understand it.
Oh, yeah, like I was actually supposed to say Alberta. Definitely, I think handled it at the beginning, was like, yeah, okay, how high do you want me to jump?
And I don't think, like, Trump doesn't want people dying in the streets from starvation. He doesn't. All what Trump is doing is he's saying, and he's not wrong. What he's saying is, for the last number of, let's say 4 years, but it's probably like, I don't know, 40 years, that there's been a wealth transfer out of the United States to other countries. And he's saying this is going to stop. Now it's time for the wealth transfer to go back into the United States. We've done it with the military by protecting Europe.
By taxing Americans.
Taxing Americans?
I mean, tariff is a tax on Americans. It's a tariff.
Okay, let me educate you on that.
Okay.
It'll be very simple. Who pays the tax when the goods or services cross the border?
Importer.
Right. Or the exporter, actually.
No, the importer.
Okay, importer. Okay. So at that point,
What do you mean? Isn't it the importer?
Well, there's an exporter and an importer.
You okay?
At the border, I think the majority of the time the importer does, but it's irrelevant. The point is, The U.S. citizens not paid it, right?
Yeah, because it's an invisible inflation. It'll cause everything to go up, which makes you pay more.
Hang
So it ends
on.
up being,
Let's take it one
hey
step
man,
at
this
a
is just the messaging in Canada that I'm bringing to you. So you
Okay.
can correct it if you
Yeah,
want.
and I'm going to
That's the way I
educate.
understand
I'm
it.
going to educate you to become hated in Canada. So this is how you become hated in Canada. You ask questions like this: Who pays the tax? The importer. Now, if the tariff is big enough, where the product now becomes
But the tariff isn't big enough. We're talking about only 25%.
okay, if the tariff
So
is
that's where I somewhat agreed with you. Sorry. All right. Sorry, bud. It's a little bit of a delay. So
okay, 25% tariff makes the product, let's say, non-competitive, and now is the most expensive product. Now, let's say that's true, and let's say humans in America don't buy that product. Have they paid the tariff?
no.
No. You are correct. They have not. The importer pays the tariff, and if that product's never ever bought and purchased, then there's no tax on the American citizen. Now, I'm not a stupid guy, so let's
The American doesn't get that thing, whatever it is that they wanted.
right. But if there's substitutes to that product, then they do. They just buy a very similar product for cheaper. So I'm going to argue against myself because I'm a smart guy. I'm going to take the other side. The other side says, okay, Doug, technically you're correct. Yes, Doug, you're correct that the importer pays it. And then if that product becomes non-competitive and if there's substitutes, then no harm done and there's no tax. But Doug, you're forgetting so many other things. I mean, Doug, you're just so simpleton in your thinking because the economy is so interlinked. And so if you increase the price of one product, then that will cause the substitute products to maybe go up in price. Not maybe, it definitely will. And to that I counter that if you
see that happening.
But to that I counter that if you have a free market competition system within the country of the United States where you have 3 or more of these substitutes, then that might happen for a time, but then through competition it will go back down because now basically the Canadian products is not even considered a competitor, and now it's just competition between the 3 American companies, and the free market will decide where the price goes. So yes, it might cause all the competitors to raise the prices, but they will still have to compete, and the free market will decide. And then you got other issues of you can't find a substitute, and in that case, I think tariffs are bad because now let's say we're dependent on oil. Is a great example for Canada because we don't have the oil refining capabilities to supply our own nation.
I think it's just the type of oil.
Yeah.
That we send.
Yeah, we need the thicker stuff because that's where our refineries do best. And so Canada, if they were to close it off or make it tariff it against us, then we would be in severe pain. And because there isn't an easy substitute for us, although we could go to Saudi Arabia, but then we'd still have to, ship it, and there's extra costs. So that would be an inflation, a tax per se on American people. So there are examples where that argument is true. But I think that's more the exception than the status quo. For most products coming out of Canada, there are substitutes that we could go to.
You can't get our maple syrup.
Yeah. There's oil, potash, there's certain, even lumber we can get from other countries and stuff. And so for a time, yes, it might cause inflation.
But if you are going to, this is where I think that it's all intricate, it's all interrelated. You say that, okay, we don't want to buy your maple syrup, but because you, that's where I think that's what we're doing. Because you're saying you don't want our maple syrup, you're tariffing it. We have counter tariffs because of that, and so then we make it harder. Everything just becomes harder, and it becomes just a clash, and the economy loses. And I think that's been my point. And I think you agree with that, but you're saying, that's okay, I'm well off.
No. What I'm saying is that it will be painful for both countries, yes. But it will be way, way more painful for Canada, and you agreed with that.
Yeah, but...
So Canada has to blink first. They have to.
Actually, my initial point was, do you still agree with the tariffs? Are you still a Trump apologist? You're saying
Yes,
And
yes,
but then you're also agreeing that yes, it hurts both economies.
yes,
Sure, it hurts Canada more. I'll take that. Yes, you can
yes.
crush us. Yes, you could squash us with your baby toe. It's like all that stuff is fine. It's still worse for your economy. Still worse for both economies.
In the short run, yes, not in the long term. That's my belief.
Okay, so this is where I want to see: is there a way to bet on this? Is there a way to predict out how it's
No, I don't think so. Someone else wanted to bet me on this, but the thing is, like, one guy said there's going to be a depression in the United States if Trump implements these tariffs. And I wanted to take that bet, but then he started bringing in, well, if Trump does these tariffs. And then the question is, okay, which tariffs exactly? And then for how long? Like, what if he takes it off for a month and puts it back? Like, it just gets too complicated. I don't think it's bettable.
Okay, yeah, I'm thinking of a way that you could.
Unless you can think of something.
You need an alternate universe.
Here's my prediction, though. My prediction is that Canada will cave. They will remove all those tariffs that they had prior to any of all this stuff.
What does cave mean? Because there's a certain kind of like
They'll
give
cry
and take
uncle.
on this. It's the exact same thing that actually happened with the first time Trump laid off the messaging in Canada. We beat Trump. He rescinded the tariffs, and then the messaging in America was like, oh, those wussy Canadians and whatever. So what does that mean?
Means that the United States doesn't have to concede anything.
Literally anything. That's
Anything.
a pretty high bar then.
Oh, yeah. So this, get rid of all the tariffs. Canada cannot no longer tariff United States on anything. They have to actually, even if that means their agriculture industry goes bankrupt, or the dairy industry, for example.
But you're not even on board with open free trade. So like if we get rid of the tariffs, that still creates a trade surplus for us. Like if
No,
that's where I'm confused.
So
do you think that
okay, we're repeating ourselves. So I'm getting a little tired. I've been on here for 3 hours.
All right.
I know you're confused about what a surplus is and a deficit is, but all you have to remember is three things.
No, sorry. What I'm saying is that it doesn't sound like you're for free trade. It sounds like you want there to be tariffs.
I said that earlier. I said that now. How long we've been talking? I said free trade is not necessarily a good thing.
Yeah.
For a country, and then I gave you an example where free trade is not a good thing.
You want it to be where basically America has the upper hand, has a better tariff trade with Canada. You want it to be so that there's tariffs from America to Canada, but not the other way around.
Correct.
You're okay with
No, hang on. If Canada gets rid of all its tariffs, then the United States will get rid of all its tariffs. That's, I think, Trump's stance.
But then that goes back to the surplus thing.
Okay, no, listen. That was point number one. I gave you 3 points, and you got to memorize them. Okay. This is what I believe Trump wants. Number one, no tariffs. Number two, from Canada.
No tariffs.
Yeah. So even before Trump came into power, there was tariffs Canada had against the United States, and if you watch this back, you'll see that list. Number two, the trade deficit has to go away, or Canada's trade surplus has to go away. It has to be closer to zero.
How do you do both of those things?
Oh, easy. You basically make it a policy from the Canada has to make some type of federal policy to buy more stuff from the United States, and then you can get the trade deficit surplus down.
You want there to be no tariffs, and you want it to be equal in the amount that we trade.
Right. That's number two. And the third one is the immigration.
But how do you get those two things? How do you have no tariffs, but then also have it be balanced?
I just told you.
You're not doing anything to control it. You're not doing anything. I didn't understand the policy then, the Canadian policy.
So for example, let's say a certain industry, I don't know what, but industry X in Canada.
Steel's a good one.
What? Steel?
Steel. Like let's just,
Okay. So Canada has a policy to buy enough steel from steel manufacturers in the United States to cause the trade deficit, trade surplus for Canada to go down to zero. Whenever you import.
When you say Canada, do you mean the government, or do you mean like I don't understand that, I guess. Like
Yes.
the government should
Yes.
buy enough steel to make it up so that it's
Yeah.
balanced.
Yes, they could do it. The government could buy it, or they could basically they could buy it for their military, whatever. They just have to get that trade surplus down to
2A.
zero.
We'll call that 2A.
It's just getting the trade surplus down to zero by buying more from America, or exporting less. That's another way to do it.
Okay.
And then number 3, basically treat the Canadian border like the southern border, and they need to do whatever Trump says, like to seal that border up. Because what Trump's fear is, and what a lot of Americans fear is, that there's so much circumvision going on that if we seal the southern border with razor wire and all that stuff with the military presence, then people will find ways to get to Canada, then come through the northern border. And Trump's trying to head that off at the pass. It's already happening a little bit now, but he's foreseeing that happening more in the future. So he wants to basically get both borders sealed up tight and just make all the bleeding heart liberals cry like crazy for the inhumane and non-comprehensive way this is going on. Trump wants all those left-wing people just to be very, very sad with his border immigration policy. So those are the 3 things. And if Canada does those 3 things, they could probably just decide to do it like within a month. All the tariffs are gone, and that's that.
Gone. Okay, cool. Poof.
That was easy. Oh, I just realized. I'm sorry. My apologies. I had him on a low volume. Somebody thought he was whispering. He was actually pretty loud for me, but he was quiet for you guys because I had him down. Canada and Europe already use tariffs. Yep. What are my thoughts on Jordan Peterson? I like him. Another 3.5 hour live stream. Sorry, Jacob Smith. That's my bad. I had him too quiet. Poof. My apologies to the Canadian Prime Minister. He was scheduled to come on and talk about tariffs, but we ran out of time.